This is episode 18 of That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, where we talk about anime, manga, isekai, and all the meta in between. I'm your host, Isekai Sensei-Sama, aka Brad, and I'm joined in this weeb cabal by Bento Baggins, aka Ben,
Yasashibori,
and Kermit D. Grog, aka Andrew.
What are Goku and his friends gonna do this time? Find out next time. I mean, this time. Keep listening. It's me. When you can do that voice, you do the voice.
So we're friends who've been watching anime for a long time and talking about that anime as well as the manga we're reading. So those conversations turned into this podcast. We have a lot of fun recording and we hope you'll have a good time listening. Don't forget to check us out on social media, rate the podcast wherever you can, and tell your friends. You can find links in the description and on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. Before we get into everything, a couple news items.
News.
That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime movie, Scarlet Bond, is streaming on Crunchyroll. I think it's actually been streaming for a little while. I'm not sure why I didn't get any notifications about it, but I watched it on Monday, and I really enjoyed it. I will say, though, I don't think that I can recommend it to anyone who doesn't enjoy the anime, because it doesn't stand on its own, like, at all.
It assumes that you've seen another one. Is it? We had an entire episode about this. I don't want to say filler, but like, is it just like it's an anime movie, or is it like canonical, or is it just like the like Konosuba movies where it's like none of this really matters? We're just having a good time.
It's definitely not. It's not in the manga.
It's not Demon Train.
Right. I don't know if it's in the light novel or not. So,
okay.
It didn't really like do anything for the main characters.
Did you feel serviced as a fan?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Did you receive fan service?
It was enjoyable. It was a fun romp. It wasn't, real heavy or anything. So, and yeah, it was basically no consequence. The only thing I thought was like a little ridiculous is that like at the end there's this big heartfelt thing that's going on, and then just like everything gets resolved and everybody's fine, and it's like, oh, no one had to actually sacrifice anything. Okay. But I had fun with it. So if you enjoy that series, you'll probably like the movie. Some big news here.
Ooh, big news.
Ranking of Kings is back.
What?
Yeah.
so soon.
This was actually on the list for last time. Well, the list that I was looking at to make the news for last time, but I glossed over it for some reason.
It was a smart choice. Last list was very long.
So it's Ranking of Kings, Treasure Chest of Courage. And it's apparently just like extra. It's
Ranking of Kings is always extra.
I was going to say, I feel like the first one was pretty extra.
It's 10 episodes, and it takes place in the training arc. So it's like...
I mean, if we're following other people but Boji, that seems like a fun... Like, I like learning about the world.
I don't think it is. I think it's
I don't think I need 10 episodes of Boji training.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it's all about, but it is airing right now. There's 2 episodes out already.
Oh, so, weird. I guess we'll point our eyeballs at it and see what the heck's up with
Maybe.
it
We'll see.
At a minimum.
So if you enjoyed Ranking of Kings, that's probably something you'll want to check out. Go back and listen to our Ranking of Kings episodes, or maybe if
you enjoyed,
maybe don't have
if
a
you
good
enjoyed
day.
Ranking of Kings,
just keep going on with your day.
Yeah, if you enjoyed Ranking of Kings, don't listen to those.
I enjoyed them. I'm curious.
Or just listen to episode 2. That's probably okay. All right, so before we get into the main event,
we got
we got a couple shout outs.
Oh.
So shouting out Rena again, as always. She's consistently commenting on our episodes,
shouting through the void at us.
So I'm gonna
in a good way.
I'm gonna keep shouting her out until other people comment consistently.
It's this easy. Remember, on like a stream that you have to donate to get the streamer to say your name. We'll say it for free.
Yeah, really. But yeah, we really appreciate her comments, and because they're good comments too. It's not just like, "Hi, I'm here." Like she got ideas.
There's some think thoughts.
And one more shout out. Somebody commented on our. I've been putting up little shorts of the clips on YouTube.
Yeah, I've been seeing those
instead of putting them on Twitter. The Truth Always commented on one of those shorts. Keep it up. So cool.
Don't worry.
Thanks.
Don't intend to die anytime soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, it's time
Also,
for...
our non-binary pals. I want to be inclusive.
Especially
I feel like
them.
it's important. It's important to me.
It's time for Reviewstravaganza.
Reviewstravaganza! Second annual Reviewstravaganza. We have an annual thing now.
Reviewstravaganza II.
Aye.
Yeah, Reviewstravaganza II. It's been a year. Or
It's been.
a little less than that, but basically it's been a year.
It's been a year's worth of podcasts.
It's crazy. We're on episode 18. We've been doing this for a
Our
while.
podcast can buy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, just in case you didn't listen to the previous Reviewstravaganza, which you should go back and listen to, it's not bad.
Ran an endorsement.
Hey, we suggest some real good series, which I'm sure
Yeah.
Brad is about to tell us what they are.
It has been described as eminently listenable.
Well, just to catch everybody up, Reviewstravaganza came about because when we first started the podcast, the thought was that our last segment, we would cover 2 or 3 different series. And we quickly found that we didn't have time to do that because we like to talk a lot.
Also, that's a terrible, like looking at it now, that's a terrible idea because
Yeah.
we'd run out of them. We're already running out of them now.
And so what we decided to do was have one episode, and we decided to do that in the middle of the year. So our mid-year kind of special, and we would talk about nothing but reviews that we were going to do. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we get into it, let's find out where the series from last time have gone.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to throw shade right now because I have the highest batting average because I'm the only one that read the 2 series that you guys suggested before we get into it.
Oh, he's really
Nobody
gonna
read
do
mine.
this, isn't he? Well, let's go through the list and find out.
I did not finish Golden Kamuy.
Did you read it?
I've read...
I know you read a little bit when I talked about it. Also,
Now,
hi.
You're getting ready. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in the order that we covered them in the first Reviewstravaganza,
Yes.
we have Tricks Dedicated to Witches.
That I read and loved. It was incredible.
This is an interesting one.
It's still dead.
It was over when I suggested it. It continues to be over. However, I was able to spread its influence.
Oh.
For those who are not aware, I was a guest on another podcast called Shonen Flop.
Have we not talked about that on podcast yet?
I probably mentioned it at some
Okay.
point. But it was probably like the episode we recorded right after I was on it. But Shonen Flop, excellent podcast. They cover canceled manga. Those guys are great. I recommend you listen to all of their episodes. But I was a guest on there, and we specifically covered Tricks Dedicated to Witches, and it was the best manga they'd ever covered. So,
I mean, usually when you're reading the things that didn't make it, they usually didn't make it because they're not good.
yeah. So I recommend everybody check out the Tricks Dedicated to Witches episode there.
Oasis in the desert.
They also do a fun one with, they call it the Chainsaw Minute, where they do a short little thing on every chapter of Chainsaw Man that comes out.
Oh, is it truly a minute?
Oh, no, it's like 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
I was going to say, it'd be
Not
like
as catchy, I guess.
like the opposite of a daily affirmation would be like a chainsaw minute. It's like,
Actually,
That's a different kind of affirmation. If we're thinking about
funny.
Chainsaw Man.
It's funny that you say that because at the beginning of every episode, they ask each other what their devil is for the week. And it's like, oh, my devil this week is the insomnia devil. I haven't been able to sleep properly. Or David went on vacation recently. He was like, "Oh, my devil this week is the jet lag devil because he went to Paris, or I think it was Paris, and like
It's just like a good like manga journaling strategy.
no, it's great. Those guys are great.
Yeah.
But listen to all our episodes first, and then go listen to all of theirs. So. Up next, we have Parasite,
Which I also read and loved.
Just so happens I am currently reading Parasite.
Oh my god! Really? You didn't tell me.
Yeah. I
Am I being lit up?
I only started about a month ago, and I'm not very far in, but I am reading it, and I am enjoying it so far. It's good. It definitely has that like 90s manga thing going, which is like, it's a very different feeling from like currently releasing things. You're like, oh, okay.
I love the look of it because it's before the Moe blob was invented.
Yeah.
Where they just like the freaking chicken nugget ooze at McDonald's. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, these look, it might have been generic at the time, but to me, this looks incredibly different and interesting.
No, it's still got that Gekiga influence. I love it.
Yeah.
I forgot. But Ben, did you read Tricks Dedicated Witches?
I did not.
Okay.
It's not even that long.
I know.
It's like 30 some chapters.
Ben, as someone who's not read it, and I know Brad's been suggesting things you've enjoyed in the not isekai, the Otome.
Oh, yes.
Otome Isekai, yeah.
Tricks Dated, which is really good. Also important reading for an episode we will be doing in a couple months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Parasite I am currently reading. Both of you have finished it completely. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm behind, but I am reading it.
Loved it. Have you gotten to the part where they describe somebody having a murderous aura and you see a giant bug in the background and that's their way of communicating it?
No.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things that early on that I remember from Parasite is like anytime I see a giant bug as a means of communicating, I think about Parasite of like, this person's got a killer intent. There's a Hercules beetle behind him now.
Nice.
Just an alien predator.
Up next, Golden Kamui.
Golden Kamui.
So Golden Kamui actually finished the manga right after we recorded that episode.
Yeah, I believe it finished I feel like it finished like a week later. It was kind of wild.
However, the official translation has not.
Correct. At least the official translation through Shonen Jump is still doing its weird every like 3 months, 2 to 3 months, it will just drop a set of 10 chapters. I think they are literally going at the speed they are translating and releasing the Tankobon physical books, which would explain why it's 10 chapters, and usually when it finishes, the next one up is the new book cover.
I am also reading Golden Kamui.
Oh my gosh, 2 for 2!
I gotta say, I was sort of surprised when we were talking about how the official English release comes out because it's really good. Like from chapter 1, like the art is amazing and the story is crazy and like it's just great. And I'm like, why aren't they just releasing these weekly? You know?
I don't know. I don't know if caveat the right word. Point of information. Despite being through the Viz app, Golden Kamui is not available on the phone version. It is among I don't know how many other series have this. I know Don has the same thing. I think because it's slightly more adult. I've seen people describe Golden Kamui as a seinen instead of a shonen. You can only read it officially on the web version of it, not the app version.
That's crazy, though.
Which seems really weird that you wouldn't just have like an 8. Yeah, exactly. That Chainsaw Man. Okay, admittedly, I don't remember if I made this joke last time or if that scene had been released yet. There is a scene, admittedly much later on, where a man jacks off to get into the mind space of a Jack the Ripper knockoff that's happening in Japan.
Well,
and I've never seen that in anything else.
No, I guess Chainsaw Man doesn't do like sexually explicit stuff.
Yeah, and it's not like a lot. It never feels it never feels icky in that way. A lot of other things sexualize things. I feel like in manga and anime, but
the sex stuff is definitely a thing.
It's more adults, but not like hentai adult. Yeah. It's like actually like, okay, we're older, we're doing,
But the violence in it is way more realistic than the violence in Chainsaw Man. Like the violence in Chainsaw Man is super over the top, but it's just like, oh look, there's intestines everywhere, and that's sort of it. Intestines and blood. The violence in Golden Kamui is so visceral. Like it's sort of crazy. Like how does someone draw? Like where was he looking at like axe infos and stuff? Because like
I don't know.
Oh my god,
I literally just caught back up on it because I guess since the last time I had read it, there was another 10 chapters, so I like went back a number of chapters to like remember what's going on. How far are you in Golden Kamuy? Now that I can ask you.
Not far.
What has happened? Who have you met the escape guy yet?
No.
Man, you're nowhere.
No, I mean, this is a problem I have with getting into series that have lots of chapters out, is that it feels really daunting. And so, like, I'll read.
If I enjoy the first couple of chapters, I love having a big backlog.
I mean, yeah,
I'm not going to be done with it for a while.
If there's something in it that like tickles that specific part of my brain, I'll just read and forget the fact that it's lots of chapters. And it's not that Golden Kamuy or Parasite doesn't really have that, but it's not hitting that specific spot.
It's not hitting the lever that your other stuff hits. But no, like, I fell back in love with it. It's still informative. It's still funny. It's still intriguing. It just gets everything, and I fall in love with it all over again every time I come back to it, if not even more so. It's like it gets strengthened. Like, I'm kind of, as much as I hate having physical media in my house now, thinking of just buying all the tankobons slowly, like I did with iShield 21. I'm like, here is one of my special babies. It's my favorite. Not many people know about it, but every time I've gone back to it, it's just been my favorite thing. So,
all right, so that's 3 down, and we'll call that 2 points for me, 3 points for Kermit.
What do I have 3? What? No, what? Because I read the thing that I suggested.
No, you've read all 3 of those.
I finished them.
Yeah,
I get a full point.
I get half point because I started those 2.
I'm not giving you a half point for Golden Kamuy. You haven't even met the escape artist yet.
I started reading it. What else do you want?
I'm making a face at him, audio listeners.
I'm taking half a point.
You're getting.
And Ben, hang on. Let me bring up Tricks Dedicated to Witches real quick. So I can get my half a point.
Let's see.
Only 30 chapters.
Ben gets 0 for Tricks Dedicated to Witches.
Yeah.
You get the 1 for Parasite. How far are you in Golden Kamuy?
Did you meet the escape guy?
I don't know if I'm at the escape guy.
You got a half point. It's not less. Come on. He's like a main character.
You're going to give me shit for that.
I am. You had an entire year's time. You know what? I had an entire year's. I got it done more than 6 months ago. I got both of them done then.
Well,
and then I read all Hunter x Hunter.
You're winning. You got 3 points.
I know.
So,
and then you're going to pat yourself on the back on all these Isekai.
Let's see if that'll keep up. So the next one we covered was the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world.
You're just gonna pat yourself. I didn't read it. I am tempted. I re-listened to the episode. I'm tempted to check it out.
So it actually not very many more chapters have released since then.
Oh my
I
gosh,
want to say
it's one
like
of those?
6 maybe.
Okay.
But it's still good. I'm still enjoying it.
How many chapters about is it then?
I don't know. I didn't re-look that up.
Okay.
It actually, there hasn't been any chapters for like 3 or 4 months.
That makes me very cautious about picking it up. If it's just going to die on the vine.
Finish Love After World Domination.
There's an arc where when you get to the end of it, you could probably stop there and be like, okay, it's done.
Okay. I'll give it a look. I'll take a goose egg on that, cheater.
The next one, Isekai Shikaku, disqualified from otherworldliness.
Isekai Chicago. That's the joke I made last time.
That's also sort of in a similar situation, although more chapters have come out of that than of Red Ranger. But still excellent. Doing its thing. I love it. It's great. I don't even have to ask Ben if he read any of these, but Kermit, did you read any?
I feel like I deserve a quarter point for heroin addiction by itself. I've read so many hundreds of pages.
Oh, I'm so sorry for recommending things you enjoy.
Also, giving him your Christmas present to him was homework. Also to me, I just haven't had to do it. My homework's for summer vacation.
I'm so sorry for recommending things that you guys will enjoy.
I'm so sorry for buying things that you have to read to talk about on the podcast.
Of me. Things,
how awful.
Things that you like.
Awful.
I spent lots of money on things you like. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, you sound like our mom. Jesus.
What do you like? You like books.
What are you, Chi-Chi?
Yeah. That's how it feels. You're the Chi-Chi of this podcast.
Oh God, does that make me the Goten?
Actually, I was going to say, don't start with me. I'll start buying you textbooks, but Ben would like that.
Yeah.
So the next one I'll give you guys a pass on. Unparalleled Path. Reincarnated as the AI for a space battleship. I think three chapters of that have come out.
There wasn't even that many chapters from the last time I remember.
It was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, you said it was like a really small number. I think that one was more the gimmick than anything.
Yeah. It's It's weird, but it's fun, but it's weird.
Do I get any points for encountering like a weird subgenre of literature of people being reincarnated as spaceship AI?
Not yet.
Words About Books could do a crossover with you on that. We had the Bob thing.
Well, he's not really a spaceship.
Bob? Who's Bob?
I guess that counts.
There's a book called We Are Bob, a series of books called We Are Bob, about a man whose brain is scanned and put into spaceships.
It's an isekai.
And he duplicates himself.
It's not. It's not.
And everything's an isekai, mister. I have to get my stink all over everything.
Yes, everything is
There are
an
many
isekai.
things that are isekais. This isn't one of them.
And then, last but not least, especially not least, actually probably last but best, one we all definitely get a point for, which is Akane Banashi.
Hey!
Yep, I've kept up with that.
I've also kept up with that.
If you are listening to this and you are not reading Akane Banashi, well, wait until you finish listening, but definitely go read that. It is so good. It
on the Shonen
continues
Jump
to be
app.
good. There's so many more chapters now because it comes out almost weekly since a year ago. It's great.
It's remained incredible. I still would love there to be an anime.
I feel like since the success of Akane Banashi, I imagine Shonen Jump thinks it's a success because they have invested in a bunch of other like sports manga, but for the arts type series.
I still don't know if they're becoming sports manga yet. We were going to talk about them early, but they all kind of need to stay on the vine for probably another month before.
Yeah.
Because they're all kind of in that like they could be one of many things. They haven't quite hit that like rhythm moment.
Right. So let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
You just started those series
5.
to lord it over me because I gave you shit earlier a month ago.
5 points. Okay, let's see. So Kermit got 1, 2, 3.
I've got 4 points. I can do math.
4. Good job. You did good. Let's see.
Don't you patronize me, mister. I stacked the deck with a bunch of isekai that I'm
I was
already
going to say,
reading.
in October, we're replacing the Isekai segment with Ben's horror bullshit segment.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's just one episode.
Yeah, but I can recommend a year's worth of like grotesque, bloody manga for you.
We already covered Junji Ito.
There are dozens.
I pitched you one ball, and you could barely knock it out from home plate. It didn't even get to first base.
Ben, you get 2.5 points. You got to step up your game.
What is the half? Oh, it was the half.
I'm the Anya of this podcast.
Ben gets 3 points because he does heroin addiction. I will give him. I will give him that.
Nobody clip that out of context. Ben gets 3 points because he does heroin.
Well, you went from a poor third place to a solid third place. Good job.
There we go.
You owe it all to Kermit.
I'm going to get into Tokyo University.
All right.
The Cypher Academy.
Well, it's finally time to get into it. Let's do it for real.
Reviewstravaganza.
Reviewstravaganza.
All right. So today I'm gonna start us off here, and I'm gonna slow us down a little bit here because
Dim the lights.
The first series I've got for us
Sexual
today.
R&B starts playing.
It's a historical slice of life romance comedy.
I'm intrigued, mostly about the historical. I bet it's samurai. It's always samurai.
It is
Jane
not.
Austen.
Oh wait, I meant medieval.
It's not.
What?
So the title of this series is called "The Snow Country Hunting Life of the Northern Nobleman and the Eagle-like Wife."
The eagle life.
This sounds like a Confucian proverb.
Eagle wife.
So
eagle life.
I will now attempt to pronounce the Japanese name, and you can tell me if that actually means that.
Okay.
Hokuou Kizoku to Moukinzuma no Yukiguni Karigurashi. I'm going to chop that up and edit it together properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be flawless. Nobody will ever notice.
Just make all the phoneme sounds and put them together.
Ben, do you know any of those words?
Robot.
No, not off the top of my head. I'd have to look.
Well, so
I
first,
guess Yuki is snow.
First, I want to make it very clear that this is not a manhwa. Okay, it's not
You're
a manhwa.
sure this doesn't belong on heroin addiction?
It's not an isekai.
Well, that wasn't Korean, so yeah, I'll give you
This
that.
is literally just a probably early 1900s slice of life.
1900s?
Yeah. Ritzhard governs a wintry territory far to the north. Sigland is a soldier with the nickname Crimson Eagle. Ritzhard falls in love at first sight with her, and they begin their life together. For a trial marriage of 1 year? Hunting reindeer, snacking on nuts, making traditional handicrafts? In their peaceful and modest life in the land of winter, will the couple truly become husband and wife? So this series follows Ritzhard Levantret.
French?
Yeah, this is just like a tour de force of
Languages.
So Ritzhard is the...
Watch out there.
Is the... actually, I'm not sure what his title is, but he's sort of like the governor of this land. And it's in the far north. I think it's Finland, but I don't have like a very specific setting for it.
This is a far off in time sequel to Vinland Saga.
They definitely go to Germany.
Okay.
So
okay.
It doesn't say it out loud, but it's definitely Germany. Like there's no way it's not Germany. So
probably Prussia at the
not
time.
Berlin.
Yes, actually that would probably be correct.
Yeah.
Trial marriage.
Yeah,
Why
so
isn't that a thing? That sounds great.
the
That's
way
the waters before you're just like, whoop, bim bam boom, legally.
the way this
I guess
starts
that's what
off.
dating is, admittedly.
So as I mentioned, Ritzhard is the governor of this territory. He's inherited it from his father.
Okay.
And there's not really anyone in this small village in his territory for him to, get married to or anything.
So this warrior woman shows up.
Well, so what he does is every year he travels to the city. And as I said, I believe it's in Germany. And he goes to parties, looking for a wife. And he's been doing this for years, and everybody thinks it's really weird, right? Because he's a nobleman. He just shows up at these parties in the summer and walks around and looks for a wife, right? Sigland is a soldier who just finished her tour, and she's now older than the age most people get married at, right?
Okay.
So she comes to this party. She's dressed in her military uniform, right? And everybody's looking at her like, oh, that's what she's not wearing a dress. Like, what is she trying to do? And Ritzhard sees her and is immediately like, she's awesome. Okay. So he approaches her, and unfortunately, he's a bit awkward. And so he's like, hey, will you marry me?
Eagle woman.
Just right away. Marry me.
Marry me.
And of course, Sigland is like, excuse me. And so through a series of events, they decide we'll have a trial marriage, right? So they're going to have a trial marriage for 1 year. They will go back to the village and have this trial marriage. Now, it's a romance. There's romance in there. But realistically, the meat and potatoes of this series is the meat and potatoes.
I was really hoping that was going to be the joke. Yeah.
Because it's a slice of life that takes place in a place that doesn't have a whole lot of technology.
I thought you were going to say vegetables.
They have to go out and hunt for food. He is the lord, so he owns the reindeer, and they forage for berries and all this stuff. It's not like a medieval thing, but they live in the middle of nowhere. So there's these log houses, and they have to gather firewood, and they have to prepare for the winter and everything. And so what you get over all these chapters is it's basically just seeing them live their life. And over the course of that time, you see Ritzhard and Sigland grow closer together and fall in love for real. There's a lot of chapters of this. There's currently 86 chapters.
Okay.
And they're not short chapters either.
What do they do? You're describing to me like berries and reindeer.
A lot of it.
Snacking
And this is really the thing that sort of is the draw for this. It's all real. Like they tell you recipes for these different things they've foraged berries, or here's how they make the jerky, or all this kind of stuff. And it really gives you a really excellent glimpse into what life would have been like.
Dr. Stone a little bit, but like a different.
I was gonna say this sounds like a Walt Whitman. Like I went and lived in a cabin for a year and I wrote my novel.
In addition to that, as I said, there's A6 chapters. The main Ritzhard and Siglin stuff does wrap up. There's a baby, all that kind of stuff, and then it sort of moves on. There's a soldier who is a friend of Ritzhard, who comes, and there's a family in the village that has some drama with a grandfather and his granddaughter. He's like a traditionalist, and she's not really into that and all that stuff.
So you're getting kind of the stories of the townspeople as well.
Yeah, to an extent.
The town.
So the story does sort of change to follow those two, David and Ina. And there's sort of some parallels to the original story, but all of this is just like you're living in this with them. Oh, something important. There's one native family that lives there. So there's Inuit. They're like the Inuit family. And then there's the townsfolk who are like sort of native, more native than Ritzhard's family. And then his family is sort of like from the country and was given this territory. So there's sort of like these different aspects. But the Inuit family, I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Aporu or something like that. I should have written that one down. But he's like Ritzhard's like right-hand man. And he's, even in the middle of winter, he's walking around like with no shirt on. he's like ripped and everything. And then he has his wife who also helps out and everything. But I would recommend this to...
Is this cozy? It sounds cozy.
Yes, it's extremely cozy.
Okay.
Very cute. There's a little bit of drama, but the drama is not the point.
Try to impress on me the art style.
Oh, so it's beautiful.
I hope so.
It does that thing where everything is like lovingly drawn, but also the faces are still sort of like flat kind of thing. Like the faces aren't the point. The faces just give you expressions.
Okay.
But then like all of the backgrounds are real detailed and everything. But it's got sort of a sketchy style, but not like in a bad way. It's really beautiful. And it's just like, it's just intrigued. A fun, like you said, cozy. You just like sit down and read 2 or 3 chapters and be like, oh, that's nice. So it's something I've been enjoying I started reading it a couple years ago, and it's still going, and I still really enjoy it.
Is it have an official release, or is this just sort of like...
I could not find an official release.
When the translator crew gets to it and it trickles out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they release it as it's like the...
So it's pretty much like it's got about 86 chapters.
Yeah.
Not just the translated ones.
Yeah. Okay. I would probably buy this if a official...
Big statements.
Paper came out. So...
Rad. Say the name of it one more time. The
Snow Country Hunting Life of the Northern Nobleman and the Eagle-like Wife. And I'm not going to try and pronounce the Japanese again.
Oh, yeah, one of those words was north. I remember that. Hokuou, yeah.
And just to round out the information, this is written by Imoto Mashimesa. And this is an adaptation
of a light novel, because it's got a light novel name.
And then it's drawn by Shirakaba Shikoyo.
I was a coward. I wrote down very few, if any, names for my part later.
Shikoyo?
So maybe props to you in your attempts at these things.
Shirakaba Shikoyo. So yeah, definitely recommend that.
I'm intrigued.
You guys You guys are going to check that out?
That feels like a good one to read in the winter.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like just kind of curl up with a blanket and your little tablet and just
Well,
kind of...
and like, I would say a good half of it is about getting ready for the winter and then living through the winter. They do this really cool thing where after, I think it's like in the second or third year that they're together, because there's nothing going on in the winter, because nothing's growing and all that, they open a tavern. And so all of the townsfolk start coming to this tavern and everybody's like, oh, this is great and everything. And so they start going like, oh, what can we do here? So they start making like canning things and selling it there. And
Oh, you were giving me progression stuff.
and Ritzhard makes carvings. And so there's like multiple chapters where it shows the process that he goes through.
Oh,
with,
yes.
like how to carve things and like
Give it to me.
the wood to use and got to dry out the wood.
Capable
and, like,
people doing things that I have no idea how to do.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
This is reminding me of a book, Legends and Lattes. There's a whole like emerging genre of cozy fantasy fiction. Legends and Lattes is about an orc who retires from adventuring and opens a coffee shop.
I enjoyed that episode of Words About Books.
No, I mean, this is obviously not as goofy as that.
No, and again, I need to stress, it's not a fantasy in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a fantasy because like
It's fiction, but
nobody
it's
ever
not.
gets
It's
sick.
fantastical, but yeah, there's no magic.
The only bad thing that happens is that grandfather gets injured when he's out hunting, but it's not even like a big deal.
Okay. This sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna point my eyeballs at it.
So yeah, I thought,
Much like last time, you've pitched a good one.
figured we started off slow. When we get to the Isekai segment, I got some bangers.
Okay. I sure hope so. I don't know what else you would have brought him for.
All right, I think it's time for Kermit.
Hello, boys and girls and non-binary pals. Hello, class. Today, I bring a 2-pack written by the same author that, at least for me, scratched the same itch. We're going to hopefully spend more time on the first one and kind of lead into the second one, because the first one is done. So today I'm bringing the dual pack of Assassination Classroom and The Elusive Samurai. Both by a Japanese name I'm going to butcher, Yusai Matsui. I think I'm saying that right.
That's pretty.
Matsui sounds right.
Yep. I learned why I really like his stuff, because in one of the manga and also on the Wikipedia page, his listed favorite manga are Boba 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 Bo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Kinnikuman, also known as Ultimate Muscle in the States. 3 series that I adore and grew up with and or found love in as an adult. So you kind of have that as a base of a sense of humor, I would say. I feel that the most. Assassination Classroom, we'll start there. Assassination Classroom is about a, I guess, alien that one day just comes and like destroys like a chunk of the moon. And he makes an ultimatum and he's like, if you can't give me what I'm asking for, I'm going to blow up the entire Earth. Like, you've seen what I can do. And part of his demand is that he wants to teach this class. And this is part of the mystery of the series of why does this weird alien thing want to teach this class? Also, if you've never seen Assassination Classroom on the covers, the main character, I guess not main character, but this alien guy, Koro Sensei as they call him, which I'll get to in a second where that name comes from. He's like a big yellow smiley face head. And then he's got tentacles, and like over top of that is like he's usually got like a scholar's robe, I guess I would call it, but he changes outfits.
Now, is this you read the manga or watched the anime?
I read the manga. I tried to watch the first episode of the anime many, many, many years ago, and it didn't grab me. I
don't want to derail this too much, but I do have a question, because I've seen a bunch of clips of the anime.
Yes.
I'm aware of it. I have a pretty good idea of sort of what is going on. I was under the assumption that he was like a master assassin who
Stop!
didn't-
Cut
okay.
this. Shut up, Brad. We're cutting that.
All right.
Mr. Spoilers. Jesus.
I didn't know it was a spoiler.
Yeah, it's kind of really important. It's one of the major reveals towards the end of the series.
Okay.
Just have that and just bleep it out. So he wants to teach this class, which becomes the assassination classroom. He goes to this one school. The school is very affluent. It's very well known, but this is class, I think it's E. Like, they are the lowest rung. They're literally there. The principal has them there. So all the other classes have somebody to treat as the enemy and dunk on. They are the lowest. They are all people who used to be in other classes that were knocked down there for one reason or another. Some of them justified, most of them not. It's like, oh, I have to work 2 jobs because of my family. I didn't have enough time for education. So this is your kind of like, you're not necessarily all of your losers, but like, here's the downtrodden, here's the misunderstood, here's people who aren't applying themselves that could, wayward students. So Koro Sensei shows up, and he mysteriously takes over this class, and he goes, I'm going to blow up the earth in 1 year's time. In that time, you've got 1 year to kill me. And then this also is made known by the government. So Assassination Classroom is the story of this teacher, Koro Sensei, who is genuinely a really good teacher. This is one of the things that I loved the most about Assassination Classroom, is he genuinely cares about the students, and he will use his powers, even though he's very silly, which is also why I like him a lot. He's very comical, and fourth wall breaky at times, but he will like shape, he can move, I think they say he can move at Mach 20. He can get around, but he will always take steps to tailor the lessons to his students so they can learn, or like different ways of teaching it, both literally like the information you're learning in school, but also learning like military techniques about like how to fire a gun or how to use camouflage, or like at a point they learn parkour about how to be an effective assassin to kill him. And besides the comedy, and just the kind of warm-heartedness, progressiveness of like teaching and the approach to it, and this will also repeat in Elusive Samurai, but you get to know the class over time really well. You're mainly following, this is like the one other name I wrote down, where is it? Nagisa Shiota, I think that's it, at least.
Yeah, Nagisa, yeah.
Who's kind of the main character. I still remember when I first watched the anime before ever touching the manga, I thought I had finally found a female protagonist who wore pants at school, and I was talking to my friends about it, and then it's like, oh, it's a boy. But I ended up really like him. He's kind of shy, he's a little reserved, but then you learn he's kind of a weirdo, but like in a really endearing way. Like, I guess here is like a small spoiler, is like, of the entire class, he ends up being the one that's actually the most like, probably will be an assassin. Like, he just somehow has the skills that match it the most, but in a way that just feels like very natural when you get there. But I would say that is meeting the class and that progression of like everybody learning and seeing this, like there are certain things about it that Assassination Classroom felt very progressive in certain ways that I wasn't expecting. In some ways not, and in those ways it disappoints me at those times, more so than most things, because it seemed like it had its head on right in certain regards. But and always there's something different to do of like, oh, we're like, something it does that I really loved is like, whenever there is a test, it's like, how do you make a test exciting on a topic that the viewer doesn't know about? So how do you make this feel like something the kids are fighting? And when they happen, they are presented like Monster Hunter, that the test is literally some giant thing, and you're seeing all the kids using their abilities to fight it, and it's metaphorical, but you also get to see all their skills they've been learning in the assassination part of it. And I think that was like, it was a really cool way to describe and show and metaphorize of like, oh, this test is hard about these things, or like, oh, Koro Sensei prepped us about these things about the test. And like, that's really neat. And like, I don't know, it just keeps rolling. New characters will show up and join the class every so often. You learn about like the principal and his son, and both of them are kind of really garbage people, but they're like at the top. They're literally just like the best humans at everything, but they're also like cold-hearted jerks. And them constantly at, kind of at war with Class E, of like, Class E is the downtrodden. They're there to be stepped on. They're the common enemy between all of us for us to strive against, even though they're garbage. But with Koro Sensei's teaching, because he's so dedicated, they start learning and growing as a community and all this stuff. And I don't know, I found it very like uplifting as somebody who has been a teacher at points and went to a school that was about teaching and has a lot of friends who are in teaching. And that was just very, it's cozy in that regard, but there's also like moments of action. So you get like little bits of shonen, but you get little bits of like goofy humor while all this is going on. Like, it's just a nice taster plate of what makes a lot of shonen stuff great. It's not the second coming, but I don't know. I really enjoy it. Have either of you run into it really at all?
I actually own the first volume. I've read it. I've read the first volume. I didn't keep up with it. I forget why. I don't think there was a big reason. I think at that time, I don't know. I had a weird impression of it because I started reading it after the anime came out. And a lot of people recommended it to me. And I think they were probably not into it for the reasons I would have been into it. I think they like just the battle stuff.
Yeah, the battle stuff's good, but here, let me try to explain. Like, there's two little, like, I don't even know if I would call them arcs, but like to try to capture the like bounds of the things you're doing. So for summer vacation, they go to this like beach island. Also, on top of all this, besides the kids trying to kill Koro Sensei, the government is sending like assassins. Like, assassins are showing up for this big bounty that's placed on them because they don't kill him, the world's over. So the kids are like, we want to be the ones to kill Koro Sensei. Like, it's a meaningful connection. Like, their meaningful community and like what they mean to each other is an important thread of the story. So they're on this like vacation. They've set up this big trap that they're going to kill him. It doesn't work. And then these other guys show up and like infect a bunch of the kids. And they're like, we've got the antidote. We're only going to give it to you if Koro Sensei kills himself. And they're like, we're not going to let this happen. And you get this big like action espionage of them like sneaking into the hotel that he's at the top of, and like going through, sneaking past guards and like finding secret ways around, and like you fight a bunch of guys that seem like they're outside of Sakamoto Days because there's a guy who like eats soup with a gun, and I'm like, this is the most Sakamoto Days character that has ever been. And you get this big action set piece at the end while they're all fighting, and that's fun. But then also another arc, I don't remember if I think it's later, is just I think it's when they're doing parkour or they're like riding bikes around and they injure an old man and he gets really up about it. He's like, I'm going to tell everybody the secret of your school because the government's trying to keep it on the hush-hush. And they're like, we can pay you. And he's like, no, this is disrespectful. I run the local like daycare and I can't help them now that I'm injured. So while he recovers, all of the kids go help at this daycare, and you get these meaningful connections of these teenagers like helping tutor these like little kids, and they start like building and improving the space. So it's like when that guy gets back, it's like a lot bigger, and you just get these little human moments of like the main character helping this like little girl who's like bad at math. And you get like, that's what I love about Assassination Classroom. You get the big, you get the small, you get heartwarming, you get action, you get consistently funny comedy moments, and you get this sense of constant progression. But also the key thing, and this will be with Elusive Samurai as well, there's always this ticking clock of the months are passing by. We are getting closer. Every test, every final and midterm we have, we are moving closer to the day that Koro Sensei is going to kill everybody. We don't know what his deal is. You're slowly like learning what his weaknesses are. Like the main character makes like a note of every time he's got a weakness, and they will use those then in their kill attempts. But you will slowly like learn the story. I think the ending explanation I found compelling. I liked it. I didn't hate it. And I think it's a series that just like worked really well on what it was doing. So to bridge from that, let me give my specifics on the length.
You're going to move on?
What?
You're going to go to the next one?
Yes, but I do want to say... Well,
I just wanted to... So this is Assassination Classroom I've been aware of for a while. I've thought, I would probably enjoy that, but I've never really like been like, okay, it's time to check that out.
Yeah.
What would you say are the major differences between the manga and the anime?
I haven't seen the anime. I can't speak to that. The anime feels... I'm learning more and more that I can't judge... Like, my sense of how long a manga is to how long the anime needs to be to capture all of it is broken and wrong. From the... I wrote it somewhere. Maybe I didn't. There are 2 seasons of the anime. Or what? The manga ran for 4 years. There's 21 volumes. All of it's on the Jump app. It's done. It's been done. 2 seasons of an anime of about, like, 26 episodes. Maybe 52. I don't remember. Doesn't seem like enough to capture it. I'm sure it could. some of the like not meandering, but like that sense of time as I was reading it helped make me feel the passage of time. And I feel like if I binged the anime, I wouldn't have gotten that sense. Judging by the episode titles, it seems like it finished.
Okay.
Because the last couple are like graduation and stuff like that, which feels pretty like the end. But yeah, I can't speak to it.
You think the art between the two is like they go the same style?
I think so.
Okay.
I learned, just to pass this along, because I didn't know this, he's named Koro Sensei because there's a portmanteau between Koro Senai, which means unkillable, and Sensei, which means teacher. I didn't know that until I checked that on Wikipedia, and I was like, that's neat. But no, I would highly recommend Assassination Classroom. If you just like want to... It was literally just like my new big manga on the Shonen app that I would just like have on my phone. I'm like, oh, I've got some time to kill. I'll read a couple of Assassination Classroom chapters. Like, it was like my nice little... I always had more of it until I didn't series, and it was one of those ones where I finished it, I was like, oh, it's over. You know, it was kind of... It felt like a hole was left behind. Which luckily was then filled somewhat by The Elusive Samurai from the same author. Started back in 2021, also running in Jump. You can read it there. It's got over 100 chapters at this point.
Really?
I don't know how close to it being done it is right now.
So I've heard of this, but I haven't seen anything of it, as opposed to Assassination Classroom, where I'm fairly well aware of it.
Probably because there is no anime yet.
That was partly my impression, but I also thought for some reason that Elusive Samurai got like middling reviews. I'm not sure why.
You might be, because the thing I always mix it up with is there was that samurai story that the Naruto guy was writing. And that got... I don't know. Maybe people gave it middling reviews. I've been enjoying it. I mean, it's still going.
I didn't realize they were by the same guy.
Yep.
And you can't always go by reviews online. Like,
no, I disagree with everybody about manga all the time.
yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's still going. Wikipedia tells me there's an anime in the works, and I will probably watch it because it's a good time, and I feel like it'll solve the problem I have with the manga, where there's a bunch of Japanese names that I cannot remember or recognize. I'm like, oh, it's so and so. I'm like, who's that? Maybe I know that name. But Elusive Samurai is about a... it's been a hot minute since I've had the start of it, but basically there is the son of, I think it's the emperor, I could be wrong, a major government head of Japan. This is like back in samurai-ish times. Another clan comes in, kills everybody. The emperor, who's like a puppet, is also dead. His son is able to escape. He's the elusive samurai. And he's constantly on the run. And this, I guess like shrine priest finds him, who can see the future. And he goes, I know, I've worked with your clan in the past, your family. You're meant to be the leader here. These guys came in and killed all these people. We're going to reinstate you here. But we're not ready for it yet. There's going to be this big war. I can see it kind of, but we need to kind of build you up. So the story follows him initially running, but slowly building like a set of retainers who are all teenagers. It feels very akin to meeting the class in Assassination Classroom, where it's like, here are all these students here's all these teenagers who has exceptional things. There's the elusive samurai himself, who's like, his whole bit is that he didn't really study anything because he was like, my dad's a puppet. If I ever take the throne, the position will be meaningless. I don't need to learn politics. But he's really good at running. He's literally just, my thing is, I never wanted to do my lessons, so I just played hide and seek and I ran away from my teachers all the time. So he got really good at that. And much like the protag of Assassination Classroom, he's a little weirdo in that he loves running away. Like, they draw him making like ahagao faces at the concept of running away, and everybody's like, he's our leader, but he's really weird. Like, everybody points out, it's like, that's kind of weird, dude.
So like sitting in a like important meeting that he has to be in, and everybody's being serious and everything, and you can just see him like thinking about running away. And
it's usually when he's in like the middle of it, where he's like figured something out. He's like, oh, it's like a flow state. I love this thing of like getting away from people or running or using his thing, like because like part like he gets retrainers, so like there's like some shrine maintenance he gets, and like one of them's like a slightly older girl who's like bigger and uses like a halberd or something, and she's neat, and they get like this master thief kid, there's this other guy who's like a really good like teacher and tactician, and he's like, oh yes, we can use your retreating style to teach you this special move that'll help you win this battle, because otherwise your muscles are garbage. We'll use your retreating muscles. And like slowly building up his legend, like literally building up his legend that people will follow this boy into battle to fight these evil people and retake his homeland. And it starts with the kids, and then like they start getting all these other warriors, and like, you know, ancient Japan stuff. They're very like, I'm a warrior, I'm gonna die in battle. And like part of his thing is teaching them like, no, retreat, live another day, that you can go back and actually fight and make a difference for the people that are depending on you. And this one's obviously a little bit more like time period-y and a little bit more historical, I guess. I don't know how historical it is to like real people, but it is also just like, it's funny at times, it's heartfelt, there's like actiony, puzzly fight moments. You're constantly meeting like a cast of weird characters who will like show back up again. I will always remember one of the villains is like a bandit turned one of the generals of the enemy army, whose armor is just like photos of ants. And I think it's just like a visual to make it, it's like, this man is unclean, like you can't trust this guy, because he looks very like, he's just like he's bald, he's just got a very plain face. But it's consistent, like I said, it consistently is funny and makes interesting choices, and you're getting that constant sense of like, he's growing, him and all of his retainers are growing, but he's also growing like a bigger retinue of people, and sometimes it's like a while until you see them. And it just has consistently been a good time, I think. I do want to point out, because it's early on and it goes away then, which is like a bummer. One of the gags of that priest is that because he can see the future, he can see modern day bits. So when a comedy moment happens, he goes, oh, in the future, this is called whatever the Japanese joke name is. And then he'll like set up another joke that happens with it. And I thought that was like, oh, that's kind of a funny way to bring these modern ideas into this passing, because there are like moments where he's like, they're having like a competition they had at the time where it's like, it's an archery competition. You're on horseback, you've got padded arrows, and you need to shoot these dogs. And the priest guy is like, hi, modern reader, this looks probably really messed up to you. And it is, but back then it wasn't, so please just kind of, it's a please understand thing. But it was like neat having a mechanic in the story to present that.
An in-story reason to break the fourth wall.
To go like, hey, I know this is kind of messed up to your modern eyes, but back then this is how it was, and not just like narrator son coming in.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like I said, consistently funny. Sometimes both series can be a little icky, nothing too terrible, but like in little bits and pieces where it's like, I don't know if I entirely trust you. Like, this isn't full on awful, but it's like, could you stop? Especially with how like, especially with Assassination Classroom, how progressive it can feel at moments. But overall, I would say a good time, a good read. Again, Elusive Samurai isn't done yet. I don't know how much longer it's going to run. I've let it sit for a while because I need to keep track of people I need momentum for, so I would like to have a bunch build up and then read them all at once. But if you like the like kooky cast that constantly gets bigger, or like the reoccurring villain who's like, oh, this guy could never get anything right, but he's also capable, like it's a good time. So that is my review extravaganza, is the Assassination Classroom and the Elusive Samurai.
I think I might check out Elusive Samurai first. That sounds more my speed.
You can... It was really funny because I started Elusive Samurai before I went to read Assassination Classroom. And then when I learned it was the same author, I was excited to go back to Elusive Samurai because I'm like, there's like a bunch of moments that feel like it's like an echo. It's like, oh, it's like a similar theme or like a similar idea. Just like, because again, you have that constant like, hey, on this date, or, you know, with Assassination Classroom, Koro Sensei is going to destroy the Earth. Or in here, it's like, we know the war happens at this year, and every chapter has the year that it occurs in. So you have this constant feeling of, I'm moving towards the big climax. And I don't think I've seen other things do that in the same way, and it gives it a certain feeling to that progression, that movement towards something that you're always going towards, and things are always shifting around, and armies are moving around, you get the war map and all that. So yeah, I would highly recommend both of them. They're a good, nice read.
See, I was kind of leaning more towards Assassination Classroom because I don't know. I feel like I'm a little burnt out on samurai times.
It's not as samurai as usual because it is goofier, I would say. Like, I'll give it credit that it's like they're men with swords, but like their ability with a blade and Bushido and all that isn't always as important.
I don't think I read too much with samurai.
I feel like I have read a lot of samurai stuff, but maybe that's not all like recent.
It's also like, I like it because you get a lot more like tactical things of like, here are the plans of the guys moving around, you know? And not just like, we had the one-on-one duel, not to say that doesn't happen sometimes, but there's a lot of like, man, there's a big, like, we are outnumbered, there's a big problem. What can we figure out how to overcome this problem? A lot of problem solving, which I appreciate.
Maybe after Demon Slayer has run its course, I will be able to return to samurai swords.
But yeah, I would say, I mean, for both of you, for each of the reasons you
anime?
gave.
Yeah.
Check them.
Because I was going to say...
I've read the manga.
Manga's over.
I still have to keep talking about Demon
Check them out. Like I said, they're on the Viz Shonen Jump app. It's really easy. Just pull it up. They're very, like... Elusive Samurai is a little less just like, oh, poke your head in for a couple chapters. Just because there's a lot of people to keep track of.
Hey, listener, do you not have a subscription to Viz yet?
It's like $3 a month. It's literally the best thing you can subscribe to.
What are you doing? Go get one right now.
Pay us. We're not even getting paid.
I legit know people who don't read manga that have the Viz subscription because they wanted to read one thing and then they forgot about it.
Because it's so cheap.
Yeah, and then when I tell them to, like, oh, you should check out Chainsaw Man, they're like, okay, yeah.
It's cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And you only have to pay it once a month. Mm-hmm. And you get everything current, and you get all of the backlog.
And it takes way longer to consume than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Best value in manga by far.
Best value in a subscription service that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
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 Well, Ben, you got anything else about
My
those?
vocal cords are dead. You're up, Ben.
Am I up? Is it time for my review extravaganza?
All right.
to talk.
Well, now it's time for Ben.
Yep. So I'm gonna continue the tradition. Every time we talk about doing this, I try to think like, what's something I would read that you guys would not. And I went with another seinen manga from the 80s and 90s.
It's a good wheelhouse.
And this time I went with Battle Angel Alita.
That's a good movie.
It was a decent movie, actually. It wasn't great, but it was okay. This is probably one everybody's heard of. I'd guess maybe the young kids haven't as much.
I feel like everybody knows about that movie.
I only know about it because of the movie. It was not a name that I'd ever remembered, or at least had a meaningful image connected to it in the same way that like I heard about Akira for ages and knew about the motorcycle.
Well, and it was James Cameron, right?
Yeah,
Yes, it was James
Which
Cameron.
is like, I mean...
He's on the back of this book, actually. So I've got the manga here. I've got the Ultra Deluxe Edition hardcover that they released because James Cameron decided to make a movie. And that's part of the reason I'm recommending it now is because we're kind of on the tail end of that publishing cycle. So Battle Angel Alita was one of the few that like came over before the manga boom. It was, printed left to right. Battle Angel Alita is not its name at all.
Oh yeah, back in the days when we butchered them.
In Japanese, it's Ganmu, which is like Gun Dream. And
I could see why they wouldn't want to call it that.
her name is not Alita in Japanese. Her name is Gali or Gari. And so that was, in retrospect, kind of a good change. I don't normally like when they do that, but Alita is way better. And so yeah, this is back when they were trying to normalize manga for an American audience and publish it as just comics. And so a lot of that stuck around. It's still Battle Angel Alita.
I love the Battle Angel Alita graphic novel.
I think
Eat your hamburgers, Apollo.
I don't know if this was actually published as like magazine issues.
Oh man, I never thought about that.
It might have been because Akira was.
Oh, do you mean the like originally, not in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, in America it was published as like magazine issues, left to right, just to blend in with comics. Because people would get the license to it, and they just wanted to market it to the comic book audience.
And still left to right. Akira, the version you can buy today, is still printed left to right.
I'm gonna have a heck of a time.
It's so weird.
Yeah. I didn't know if they ever updated it. Battle Angel Alita, this new round is published by Kodansha Comics, not Dark Horse. Dark Horse is the one that...
It's still weird when
they
I hear
were
a
the
Western
original
comics publisher publishing manga.
I don't know if they had Battle Angel Alita. I know
When
they had
did Kodansha
Akira.
start?
Kodansha started in America.
In America.
Not that long ago. Maybe like 10 years ago. So this one, they've made some compromises. It's still Battle Angel Alita. They didn't want to lose the name recognition. I think probably James Cameron got to weigh in on it. So I'm just going to read the back of the book. I'm going to cheat on my summary. So this is the first volume, soon to be a major motion picture, according to my book.
How many volumes are there?
There are 6 of these, I think.
Okay. I was going to say that doesn't look big enough.
No. So, far beneath the shimmering space city of Zalem lie the trash heaps of the scrapyard. Here, cyber doctor and bounty hunter Daisuke Ito finds the head and torso of an amnesiac cyborg girl. Her name is Alita, and she vows to fill her life with beauty. But in a moment of desperation, a fragment of Alita's past memories awakened in her. And she discovers that she possesses uncanny prowess in the legendary martial art known as Panzerkunst.
What? Excuse me?
It's German, but it's Martian. I'll get to that. With her newfound skills, Alita decides to become a hunter warrior. That's what it's called. It's always hunter warrior. You gotta say the whole thing. She tracks down those who prey on the weak. But can she hold on to her humanity in the dark and gritty world of the scrapyard? So this was from a time when every manga had to be sci-fi, had to be post-apocalyptic, had to take place in a weird desert wasteland.
Yeah. They were big on that for a while.
Yeah. So
It's weird that all happened before the bubble and then, or I guess before the bubble burst, right?
yeah, this is like pre-95 economic crash, I think.
Yeah. When the apocalypse became real. Maybe that's why.
So I would classify this as more cyberpunk than post-apocalyptic. Though I guess there's not a lot of like computer stuff. There's a lot of cyborg stuff, a lot of machine, android stuff. So Alita is a cyborg. She's got a human brain, I believe, but the rest of her body is totally machine.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that because Dragon Ball has broken my brain on Android Cyborg.
Yeah, she is a cyborg. She is very, very like robot though. Okay. She's got a whole, wholly body that's like machine. And then the guy who works on her is from this city in the clouds. There's, and it took me way too long to figure this out. There's like 2 big cities, Jeru and Zalem. And if you put it together...
Jerusalem, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah,
Have you kids heard of the Bible?
It was only when they start talking about the Melchizedek organization and all this stuff. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I think that's
this is
Jerusalem.
Sunday school.
Yeah. So that's another thing I love is like weird Bible references in my manga. But Battle Angel Alita...
Is that in the original Japanese?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's...
Salem.
It plays around... Like, it sounds goofy.
It sounds meandery.
And it does. And it has that kind of like Gekiga art style.
Okay.
Which I love. But it's a little goofy. It's very hyper violent though. Alita, she is... This is a little bit spoilery, but you find out she's more than she appears. She's like a relic of the past. And she comes from a time before everything sucked. And Daisuke Ito, he's also a little bit more than he appears. He's from that city in the clouds. Nobody knows why he's wandering the scrapyard when he could be part of the, upper class. And it gets into a lot of the same themes that like Ghost in the Shell would tackle later of like, what does it mean to be human? How does Alita find love and everything? And it wanders around a bit. It does get into some weird Bible stuff. It does get a little, I don't want to say like heady. It takes itself very seriously at some point. And I like that. I think that's like quirky and weird, and it develops its own weird statement about humanity. But And it's probably why James Cameron liked it. But they also have things like Battle Ball. And she's like a professional athlete in this android racing. It's kind of like a derby, actually.
Oh.
But it's only androids, and they've got like wheels, and they're on this big NASCAR track, and they fight over this ball, and they like beat the crap out of each other and blow each other up and kill each other.
That sounds fun.
And
Like robots.
it also gives me elements of like, has anyone ever heard of Repo the Genetic Opera?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It gives me like the character that the Repo Man, the guy Giles plays,
Repo Man.
really reminds me of Daisuke, because he's a hunter warrior and they're like bounty hunters, and they kind of go after people who like owe money and stuff like that.
Played by Christoph Waltz in the movie.
Yes.
What?
The excellent Christoph
I
Waltz.
don't remember that. That's amazing.
Yeah. This is one of the few, like, if you didn't want to read the manga, I think you should. I think the
I'd like
manga
to.
is the best version of this, but if you didn't want to, you could watch that movie.
Now,
it's not
so
awful.
The question I have about that, because I'm pretty sure where the movie ends is not actually the end of the story.
Not even close.
Okay, so is that like just like 2 of the volumes out of the 6?
Yeah, I forget where this particular one ends.
If I read the manga and I watch the movie, will I be frustrated or like, oh, that's neat? What's that experience like?
For me, I read the manga and then I watched the movie.
As a human who did the thing that I just asked.
Yeah. And for me, it's like they change things, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was like disrespectful to the original. I think the changes were decent. Alita's a better candidate for adaptation because it's not very closely tied to Japan. The cities aren't Japanese cities. The people aren't Japanese people. They're kind of just like, the world has ended. This is one of the few places where you can still survive. So tons of people have migrated here, and they're trying to scratch out a living, and it's dog eat dog, and there's some good people, but there's a lot of bad people. There's a lot of trouble. It's kind of Wild West stuff. So I think they remained pretty faithful. I think the stuff with her boyfriend was a little messed up. That was probably the worst
Oh,
bit.
right. I forgot that was even a thing in the movie until you just said that.
Brad, have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I have not.
Yeah,
At least most of it. When I'm thinking about it, I can't actually remember when I saw it, but I definitely remember large pieces of it. So I'm pretty sure I saw the whole thing.
I think her boyfriend was handled better in the manga. It made a lot more sense in the manga. But there's a lot of stuff going on. Alita kind of ends in a weird spot. I will say that the ending of the manga is not the most satisfying. Like, if I had to rate this 1 to 10 on how it stuck the landing, I'd say maybe like a 6.
Oh.
He wound up getting all kinds of like death threats and stuff. I don't know if this
happens.
I don't know if this had anything to do with like the sarin gas attack and him writing weird Christian stuff.
Oh, I can see
But
why. Yeah.
He got
Christian death cult in Japan trying to kill a bunch of people in the subways. I could see where that would.
Alita fell out of favor for a while there, and
But it's not Christian, it's Jewish.
Yeah, I don't know if they
don't know the difference.
I don't know if
In the
anyone can make that
80s,
distinction.
when nobody knows anything.
I certainly don't think Shoko Asahara could make that distinction. But he's dead now, so
Good.
yeah.
Right? That's the cult guy, right? Not an artist.
Yeah, that's the cult.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't like,
No.
good, the author of this manga is dead. I would not say
No,
that.
the artist is Yukito Kishiro, and I don't know where the Battle Angel part comes from, but if you like cyberpunk, I'd say this is a must read, even if you don't read manga. Like if you're into cyberpunk, if you like William Gibson or The Matrix.
Oh, here, I'm going to do this real quick. Josh, have you read Battle Angel Alita?
There you go.
So you'd probably like it.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, it is a classic of cyberpunk. It has influenced so much of that genre.
Is this pre or post Akira?
Post.
Okay.
Yeah. Akira, I mean, the The anime I thought was like 19...
I thought 1991.
I feel like I need to read this as part of my homework for reading Akira then.
Yeah, this is after.
It feels like it's in that oeuvre.
Yeah. It's definitely closer to Akira than it is to like any of the modern stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely got that vibe from the movie. Obviously, there is not a live action Akira, despite what Leonardo DiCaprio wants.
Despite the threats.
Oh, he should have nothing to do with that.
That's why it's a threat.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to make it.
From my knowledge of Akira and then watching the Battle Angel Alita movie, yeah, there's definitely a lot of sort of, you know, the settings and the technology and a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of parallels.
It has elements of like Fist of the North Star a little bit too, just because of the desert world. And Panzerkunst is a Martian martial art. She's from Mars. That's one of the secrets.
Spoilers.
That's where the Nazis went.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
no, they're on the dark side of the moon.
They can go to two places.
One was a staging area for the other. But there's a lot of German words.
Yes, I know there's no such thing as the dark side of the moon. Thank you.
They kind of use German as like the cool language in this one, the way English is used in the cool language in a lot of things.
There's a lot of series that do that.
Yeah.
Overlord.
Yep.
Tanya.
It's like the Japanese really love the Germans for some reason. I wonder what
Tanya
that's about.
takes place in Germany.
In pretend fantasy Germany.
There were a lot of German missionaries there when there were no other missionaries there.
The northern noble and his eagle-like wife also has a lot.
Yeah.
Wonder what they love about Germany, guys. Was Japan ever buds with Germany? I don't remember.
Well, Fantasy of a Stepmother takes place in Germany, and that's Korean. So
thank you for ignoring my bit. I really appreciate it. Genuinely.
Germany was big in Asia in general. Like Germany sold itself as like a military consultant after World War One.
I could see that. The Prussians are about that.
They helped the Chinese as well. But yeah, so the Panzerkunst reminds me a lot. Not in terms of how it looks, but in terms of just the mysterious martial art that only the hero knows. It reminds me a lot of the Fist of the North Star, Hokuou Shinken.
I'm just tickled that like a kung fu martial art variety is named a German thing.
Yeah,
one of the last language I was to think of yes, this martial art, German word,
this kicky flippy
Germany. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like Germans are more brawl oriented.
Wrestler.
They weren't
brawling.
as influenced by the Shaolin Temple as maybe the others. Yeah. But no, I like it quite a bit. It has a certain charm. It's dated. It doesn't stick the landing so much. There's some debate as to what the canon ending is.
Okay.
Because there's the original ending and like the 6th book of the most recent publication, what becomes the 6th book, sort of gives it an ending, but that's not what it was originally published with.
So for the original publication, where did it end?
Just kind of stops.
Oh.
Like
what volume?
I think 5. Okay. I think
so they were just like, hey, let's put some more in here.
Yeah, like there's the original run that I think ends in volume 5 of these deluxe editions. And after that, there was like I'm going to call it a short story collection, but a couple of extra chapters. And one of those sort of gives it
closure.
The end you would have wanted it to have.
An end.
Because, there's a lot of arcs that are unresolved. A lot of questions. And then there are like Alita prequel series, if you want to get into that.
By other authors?
I think it might be by the same author.
Oh, okay.
I got to check.
Okay.
I think it was definitely done with his blessing.
This guy go on to write anything else of note?
Not that I'm aware of. I think Alita is probably the breakthrough to the West. I'm sure he did something else in his career, but this is the only one I'm aware of. I don't know much about him as an author. I came to Battle Angel Alita back before I was really into manga that much. I sort of came to this more into cyberpunk. I would say, it definitely trends more towards like that early cyberpunk that has a lot to do with like cyborgs more than digitized consciousness. This is more like you're going to integrate with the machine rather than you're going to like just digitize the information of your body.
I was talking to Brad earlier that they don't really make those anymore.
Well, I mean, part of it is like the internet changed. William Gibson still writes.
Yeah, true.
But even he was like, in an interview, he said that the internet disappointed him. What it became really disappointed.
Like the closest I can think of, just off the top of the dome, and there's probably stuff I've missed, is Megalobox, and that's made specifically to be a throwback. Mm-hmm. Because that's set in a kind of semi-deserty, post-apocalyptia, machines and all that stuff.
You guys are going to love my isekai recommendations.
Okay, we'll see.
But yeah, this is my recommendation. I don't want to give a ton away because I really don't think it's like the most mind-blowing story. It's kind of an experience. I think if you read it, you would see why James Cameron thought this could be the manga adaptation that worked. And for the most part, like if Alita got a sequel, I wouldn't turn it down. I'm sure that movie cost way more to make than it made.
Yeah, almost assuredly.
Maybe now that Avatar has made $40 billion, he can go back and
just
do
whatever he wants. It was better than Avatar, for Christ's sake. I hate Avatar.
I don't think that's a very hard bar to...
I don't even like James Cameron that much. But
multiple people that I knew that watched the Avatar sequel didn't even want to watch it.
Yeah.
They just felt like they had to, and I was like, that's dumb.
I think Avatar is more a spectacle than anything else.
I wouldn't even call it that. Avatar is a happening.
When the first one came out and it was like, we're bringing 3D back to the cinema. It's not just about like Jaws anymore with your dumb red and blue glasses. That was kind of interesting, but like, is it worth $2 billion for me to go, that was neat?
Nobody talks about it in the same way they talk about Titanic.
Yeah.
If everyone sees it, then yes, it was worth it.
I didn't see Avatar Shape of Water or whatever
its
it was.
cultural footprint is small.
I can't name one character from Avatar.
Jake
Sully.
I have no idea who you're talking
Which
about.
I only know because of an old Newgrounds animation.
Natiri is
What?
the girl.
I don't remember that.
That's it.
But don't watch Avatar. Read Battle Angel Alita. That's what James Cameron would have wanted me to say.
Ben, can you leave that at my house so I can read it?
Yeah, if you want.
Much in the same way that you lent me all of Parasite last time.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you have all of them?
Yeah, I do.
Rad.
Nice.
And just to leave you with James Cameron's own words.
Oh, boy.
Just a great kick-ass story.
Thanks,
Nice.
Poet Laureate.
And I think that's what I was trying to get across in my recommendation. So read Alita. She's got weird hair. She's got big eyes.
Oh, that's her hair.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What'd you think that was?
I don't know.
Shadow?
I thought it was
You're
just.
closer to it. You got glasses on. I've got a scrim in front of me. Ben's far away from
Oh,
me.
there's just her big head. They had to like Photoshop a big head on her in the
I thought
movie.
she had like normal hair, and then it was like a design behind her.
No,
it's her hair.
Oh my God.
She got big hair. It's the 80s. She got big hair.
That's so far beyond 80s
There's
hair.
one panel in this, like it's in one of the middle books, where Alita's just hanging out, and she's playing a piano, and she's dressed like classic Bob Dylan, and I loved it. I don't know why that stuck with me. That's my closing.
It's very strange.
There's a scene where Alita looks like Bob Dylan.
So, I've got 3 more recommendations here for you.
Big wow.
These are isekai specific.
Shocked Pikachu face.
The first one that I'm going to recommend here, it actually was also recommended by someone who left a comment on our YouTube video.
Ooh.
And I shouted him out before, Jack-O-Lantern.
Cool name.
And I did reply to that. I mentioned that I was actually already reading this, but I wanted to give them some credit. So this series is called Captain Corinth, the Galactic Navy Officer Becomes an Adventurer.
Okay.
I feel like being a galactic naval officer is kind of adventurous.
I kind of want that story.
Yeah.
So this is a sci-fi, fantasy, action-adventure, military drama isekai.
Oh.
The spaceship which Imperial Galactic Navy officer Alan Corinth helmed was shot down by a surprise attack during hyperspace navigation. Completely due to a freak coincidence, Alan became the only one in the ship to survive. The severely damaged spaceship lost its navigation capabilities and plummeted onto a nearby planet. Using an escape pod, Alan headed toward the planet alone, Thus began Alan's quest for survival on the underdeveloped planet utilizing the symbiotic nanomachines within his body. Surprisingly, the planet was home to a thriving human civilization whose genetic code closely resembled Alan's own. Even while remaining at a loss due to being thrown into a world of swords and magic, he tries to live as best he could together with his newfound comrades. What would Alan achieve in this strange world? The sci-fi fantasy story in a medieval setting now begins.
So it's not of our isekai matrix. It is not a classical definitional isekai because he does not perish.
So this,
but I feel like it fits the bounds well enough to be called an isekai.
This is isekai adjacent, but it's so isekai adjacent that I'm including it here because it belongs. It's another world than his own, even though he travels in space. And it's also such a different setting from what he's used to. So it's sort of as if he was transported to a different world.
I think it fits.
So one thing that's really important to sort of get out of the way is he still has access to most of his technology. So he's got the nanites that are in him. They're called nanom.
Is he good at his job? Is it just they got because they got ambushed?
So the main point of this is that there's another race of like insectoid beings that they're at war with.
The ultimate fodder.
And they're the ones that shoot them out of hyperspace, cause them to crash. When he is able to recover some of the ship, and the original captain is now the AI in that ship.
Cool.
Living in a separate isekai.
Sort of. So she is able to like run calculations and everything, and because they have access to this computing power and everything, they figure out that these the insect creatures will come to this planet within, I think it was like 100 years or something like that. And because the technology of this world is so behind, he makes it his mission to basically take over the planet so that he can build it up to be able to fight back against this invasion.
I do love a story of capable people doing capable things.
From what I remember, at the beginning, he's not necessarily a real important person on the ship, but he is a soldier and he's capable.
A go-getter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Add on to that, he's got these nanomachines in his body that can like heal him and help him communicate sort of telepathically with the AI. The AI can like send out drones and stuff. He has weapons and armor, like nanomachine armor and all that kind of stuff. So he plays this balancing act where like when he's out alone, like hunting monsters and stuff, he'll use all this technology, but he keeps it all hidden from the people of the world.
This is reminding me a little bit. I think the series was called Gate. Where the Japanese Defense Force goes through the portal and uses a bunch of modern guns and blows up dragons.
I do enjoy Gate. There's, yes, the parallel of like modern technology against fantasy things. That's definitely there.
That's the connector point.
Yeah. Everything else is pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
not anything else. Literally just the like, I've got my super gun that I can shoot an orc and who cares?
Yeah. So it's nothing too deep, but it's a lot of fun. He goes on adventures. He takes out a dragon. He starts a guild, or I think they call them guilds. It's basically the group of adventurers.
The clan, yeah.
A clan would be the name. I think they call it a guild, but I think clan would be.
They play a lot of WoW, I guess.
The better name. He takes out a dragon at one point, and then they're like, "Oh, we need to make him a noble."
That happened in Wayward Paladin, Faraway Paladin.
Yes. That actually...
He suplexes a dragon. They're like, oh, this guy's the real deal.
He's able to use the nanomachines in the computer system to talk to another dragon who is like, hey, you beat that dragon. That means you're in charge, so I'm going to do what you say. And so now he can like use this dragon for stuff. Dragon. It's just a lot of fun. There's only 42 chapters. But the chapters are long, and so a lot has happened. He's he's gone through a lot so far, picked up a princess from a fallen country, and they're going to like try and reestablish that. But then because he's helping, they're going to like let him be in charge or whatever. And, you know, all of it building to this thing where it's like he needs to become so influential that he can then sort of reveal all this technology and get them to build up. But you add in this sort of mystery element of like, they have magic and he's living in this universe with no concept of magic. The computers and everything are analyzing it and they're like, we don't know what this is. And there's one point in some of the latest chapters where he sort of gets a vision and we're sort of led to believe that it's the magic of the world talking to him. It appears to him as the princess, but she's definitely not there at that time. Mm. So there's the element of mystery on top of that. But as I said, all of it, it's a lot of fun. It is an adaptation, so it's a light novel first.
I feel like we figured that out from the title.
And that's written by Atsuhiko Ito. And I would say it is very well written. There hasn't really been anything where I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense, or, you know, that's a stretch or anything like that. They go through each of these and it makes a lot of sense. Everybody in this world is constantly like, wait a minute, how did you take out 50 bandits by yours? Like they're actually questioning this of like, that doesn't make any sense. No one has that kind of power. Even though at the end of the day, they're still like, all right, I guess you have them here.
I have to go along with this story.
Right. So there's sort of like this thing where everybody's a little wary of him, but he's producing results, and so they have to go along with it.
A lot like Faraway Paladin. Not to say that they're the same thing, just it's interesting.
And I think it's pretty well drawn. Nothing crazy, but very competent. The backgrounds are pretty nice. The clothing and everything is fairly detailed. This is another one where it's sort of like a sketchy kind of style, but not like overly exaggerated. So it's a fun one. And that's drawn by Takuma Tomomasa.
Okay. What was the name of it one more time?
Captain Corinth, the Galactic Navy officer, becomes an adventurer.
You just want to tell it, like, you can just call it Captain Corinth.
Well, that is what most people say. But yeah, I really enjoy that. I would recommend it. Anybody who's into kind of like sci-fi and adventure stuff should definitely check that out. All right, next up. I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
What do you think would happen if Albert Einstein got isekai?
I feel like he'd be into it. What little I know of Albert Einstein.
I feel like he would be a complete communication failure. Probably, just live in a cottage somewhere making up weird theories nobody could understand.
What if I told you that when Albert Einstein gets isekai'd, he would go a little nuts, take over a kingdom, have them build guns and bombs and tanks and stuff, and try and take over the world?
Oh.
I'd say like read an Albert Einstein biography. Is this literally Albert Einstein?
Yes, this is literally Albert Einstein. The old man Albert Einstein.
The old man
got to One Piece, or a character based on him did kind of just that.
So this series is called Wise Man's Reincarnation, 5 Kingdoms.
So
Ijin Tensei, Gokuyo Warfare.
So this is one of those...
Gokoku.
The kind of rare isekai when it's a particular person. In the vein of that time I guess that one, I'm thinking of that time I died and reincarnated as Yamcha.
So here's the thing. As I sort of alluded to, Albert Einstein's the bad guy.
Oh.
This isn't really about him.
I can see why Japan would think Albert Einstein was a bad guy. I can see it. I understand it.
So the story actually follows Fugo and Roka. So these are childhood friends. Roka actually is able to do magic. And in this world, magic is very rare. So she is taken away from her village at a young age because Fugo told someone about her powers and he shouldn't have. And so he was distraught about this. So he does everything in his power to become a soldier so he can go rescue her.
This sounds like the plot of Frozen somewhat. Except they didn't conceal, don't feel. Continue. Cut this out.
So the story really kicks off after he becomes a soldier and then goes to find her. And it turns out that the nation that they're part of, which is the one that Albert Einstein has taken over, has decided that they need to kill the magic users. And there's only like 5 of them, but they're like the elites of the army, right?
Okay.
I don't know. There's just some uncomfortable associations with Albert Einstein's nation wanting to kill all of the...
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Thomas Edison gets reincarnated as a young boy.
I hate Thomas Edison.
I know, this isn't making me feel better. Thomas
When
Edison
does Tesla
sucks.
get reincarnated?
Okay, so the key here, there's only 4 chapters.
Why does Thomas... What?
So there's all of that stuff has happened in 4 chapters. So it's still very early. You could get in on it early and check.
I can invest.
I thought it was fun and interesting.
It sounds fun. I think if it was more chapters, I'd be like, what? But the fact that it's only 4 and it's such an like, what the heck is this? The fact that like other famous people are reincarnating there is such a fun concept, even if they're not going to be able to stick it.
I want Neil deGrasse Tyson to read this and tell me why it could never happen.
I want Elon Musk to die and then get reincarnated there, and then everybody just dunks on him in Fantasyland.
I do want to point out, it's very well drawn. It's like definitely
does like Albert Einstein look like it's just like a picture of him?
Yes, it looks like friggin' there's a hero shot of his like sticking out his tongue picture.
Well, yeah, that's the thing they have. That's literally what the character that's based on him in One Piece is literally based on that picture, because he always has Egghead always has his tongue sticking out One Piece because of that picture. That's like all they know.
But so it's manga style, but it's really well done.
Yeah,
and it's got like when she does her lightning attack, and it looks great.
I'm genuinely I'm intrigued and curious.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely check it out just because it's short and the premise of Albert Einstein being isekai'd and turning into a supervillain is crazy.
The thing that really hit me was that Thomas Edison showed up, that there just more people are showing up. And
and what doesn't make sense to me is that Thomas Edison is reincarnated as a child, but Albert Einstein is himself, like, in his old man body.
Also, why is Albert Einstein there first, even though Thomas Edison dies? He's from earlier in time.
I mean, that's probably what it is that Einstein gets transferred, but Edison gets reincarnated.
Einstein gets transferred. You did a big, spaghetti-o, and now we're taking you somewhere else.
But yeah, like there's so few chapters at this point. It's like, check it out.
It's anybody's game.
Yeah.
Okay.
The wheel of reincarnation is relative, and if you start off on the top, then you.
And
maybe just Einstein had a really short run.
And I don't have a ton of information to give you because it's so
nothing. That's all I need. You've given us enough.
But yeah, I had
What's
fun
the
with
name
those
one more time?
Wise Man's Reincarnation: 5 Kingdoms.
5 Kingdoms.
So last and certainly not least of the isekai recommendations, just to give you some idea of how much I want to recommend this one, I put this on Ben's recommendation list.
On Ben's homework list.
So
is this an otome?
No, it's not.
Oh.
This was actually, I have a couple on there that I put way at the bottom that are just like, I think Ben will enjoy these. And I thought now would be a perfect time to recommend this
to spring it on
to everybody.
Oh.
This is a fantasy action adventure, slice of life, drama, comedy, reverse isekai.
What?
How do you be reverse isekai?
It's called
Truxan, obviously. Come on, stick with the lore, bud.
It's called
named the fist he used.
I did.
Duder.
It's called Level 999 Villager.
Wow, I've lost interest.
Level 999 Villager. Or LV 999 no Moribito. So, despite the weird name,
If I be aggressively generic isekai name.
it's the least generic isekai that I have ever read.
Okay.
In this world, the concept of levels exist. Other than those who live off of defeating monsters, most people are only around level 1 to 5. What's more, not just anyone can go out to hunt monsters. It's heavily influenced by one's role appointed by God. There are 8 such eligible roles: warriors, fighters, clerics, magicians, rogues, merchants, hunters, and sorcerers.
Played Final Fantasy as a child.
Those blessed with extraordinary power are divided into 3 types:
Ugh.
royalty, heroes, and sages. But for the majority of the population, they have no such powers and live by farming or running shops. Towns are developed by those with the weakest role, villagers. For the powerless villagers, going out to hunt monsters is equivalent to committing suicide. But one day, a certain 2-year-old child, given the role of villager, notices something. Once you defeat a monster, you can earn great wealth. So, this series starts off very generic magic medieval fantasy.
It sounds generic as heck.
This sounds like Final Fantasy Tactics, where if you play the villager, they start at level 1, but they can go into any job.
No, in fact, villagers are at a huge disadvantage. It's
They're
harder.
a huge disadvantage in Final Fantasy Tactics, too.
It's harder for them to level up. They don't have abilities to start off with that would help them to level up. The skill, every 100 levels, you gain a skill. And the skills that the villagers can learn are crap. And
Till soil.
no villager has actually found out what those skills are because no villager has ever reached level 100. But our protagonist starts hunting monsters very early because he finds that when you defeat a monster, gold coins pop out. And he wants to save up money so that he can, have a good life. Over the course of till the time I forget how old he is, 20-something, he works very hard and levels up to level 999, which is
from doing what?
From literally just going and defeating monsters.
I thought going into the forest was suicide.
It normally is for most people.
I guess just it isn't for him.
Once he's past a certain level amount,
It's the South Park
not a big
strategy.
deal.
He can just keep fighting rats.
You just kill boars.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's a lot more going on here. And if you only read the first couple chapters and went, oh, this is just, magic medieval fantasy, I don't want to read this, you would be majorly losing out. I don't know how much of this to spoil, but it's sort of important. The world that they're in is not the real world.
Did you figure that out when it had levels?
Well,
no, because a lot of the
suspension of
have levels.
suspension of
Like,
disbelief.
I mean, like,
right?
it's. I know there's like lit RPG, but like,
But in
lot
this
of them have
instance,
that.
that's actually really important, and you're spot on.
Yeah.
That the fact that there's levels, the fact that there's skills,
I'm intrigued.
betrays the fact that this is not the real world.
I don't want to know anymore.
okay, yeah. I was gonna say you don't have to. I was gonna say you could cash in your credibility tokens to recommend this, like, without any information, and I'll just read it. But then I'll never read anything again if
So
it's bad.
just to add on a little bit more,
Be careful.
when we get to the point where we're like, oh, this isn't the real world, there's some stuff that happens. And then we find out, oh, maybe that's not even the real world. There's so many frickin' levels to
It's
this.
a double matrix.
Potentially.
Maybe
I don't
a
know
triple. How many
So-
chapters?
This is at chapter 62.
Okay.
Like, what if this isn't the real world? Like, what if we're in a simulation right now, making podcasts for robots?
The first arc of this series is interesting in that the villager meets the Demon King's daughter, and he is working to try and make it so that demons and humans stop fighting each other. He wants to have peace in the world. And so he's going on this quest, not necessarily going anywhere, but his quest is to stop people from fighting. Demons have the ability to control monsters, but they actually, what you find out is they don't do that on purpose most of the time.
It's just sort of a thing that happens.
Right.
Okay.
So humans are always like trying to kill the demons, even though the demons aren't really doing anything wrong. So there's a whole bunch of like stuff going on there until you get to the point where it's like,
where things start popping off.
So the demons are this thing. And then, so the Demon King is doing that because of this thing.
Stop. You've tantalized me the right amount. I don't want any more.
No, I agree. I'll read it. So
I'm curious.
I'm actually like so serious about reading this.
What's it called again?
Level 999 Villager.
Okay.
I'm willing to make myself accountable. I don't know if you want to have like a check-in episode.
I mean, we'll check in.
I mean, maybe maybe if we both read it, it's manga book club in an episode or two.
Yeah. That's true. We could do that.
You got to hold me accountable to a deadline.
Which means everybody listening to this, go and read it before we do our review of it, because we will spoil the hell out of it at that point.
Okay. In 2 episodes' time, so what? It's April, so June's episode. Manga book club.
You want to say that soon?
It's 2 months too long or not long enough?
Oh, I would say not long.
How many chapters are there?
62. You say?
Yeah, I can do it.
If that's what you guys want to do, we can do that.
Time to read it.
So there you go. Everybody, make sure you read it before you listen to the 2 episodes.
We'll do a big spoiler warning, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. I didn't need to spoil anything to intrigue you. That's good.
You baited the trap just right, and then as soon as I was just like, okay, I'm intrigued. Don't do any more.
I did not see the twist coming. So you know.
Stop.
I'm not spoiling anything.
No,
the mention of a twist is itself a spoiler.
Brad, these are the people that are like, it's in the trailer. When I want no information, any piece of information, even if you only get to spoil, when I'm in that mode, I don't want anything.
I get what you're saying. I had to tell you that much. Because
you have baited the trap. I'm going to enter the device.
You'd read like the first 20 chapters and be like, what the hell?
Yeah. You did that. I'm there. You've already set the thing up. I don't want any more. You have given me the oomph to go through it. Don't worry.
Well, I hope everybody reads those 3 isekai. I like them a lot, and I think everybody should check them out.
I'll give them a little peeky peek.
ご覧のスポンサーでお送りします。
Are you a fan of Japanese snacks and treats?
I sure am, Brad.
Then you'll love Sugoi Mart.
Wow. Sugoi.
They offer a wide variety of popular Japanese snacks, candy, drinks, and more. All delivered right to your door.
My door?
Well, maybe to your lobby.
私の道路は?
Sometimes if I'm really lucky, they bring it up to my actual door, so...
You can shop there by different series. So you go on the website
choice.
And you can like pick the series Pokemon or One Piece or whatever. I was actually out there checking out the One Piece section, and I saw that you can get Tony Chopper Tamagotchi.
That's adorable.
There's actually 2 different versions of it. I think they do the same thing, though.
Interesting. Okay. That sounds nice.
Well, now you as a listener can click the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off your first order. Just head to SugoiMart.com to shop their selection of delicious Japanese snacks today.
Thank you, Sugoi Mart.
Well, I would ask if you know what it's time for, but we've been doing that the whole episode.
It's all been Manga Book Club. Ba-bum-ba.
Today, we're going to talk about Mashal.
This has admittedly been a really long time coming, because we started reading this.
Oh, are we talking about the manga?
Over a year ago. It's collective. We're doing both, right?
So the reason we're doing this episode is because the anime just started coming out. So we'll get really good.
Hang on, I'm just going to inappropriately freestyle rap while you're talking. You're a Mashlin. I'm here to say you're a Mashlin. I got muscles all day.
Fight the power.
The manga is something I've been reading, I believe, since it started coming out. It was one of the ones we got on within the first couple chapters.
It was one that we've been reading since we were in the office, which was a long time ago. It was one of the first ones.
Didn't write this down, but I think there's like 150 some chapters right now.
That sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point where Kermit stopped reading it.
Here, let's tell the viewers what this is first. If you've never heard of Mashal,
should I read the summary?
Read the summary.
This is a world of magic, where magic is used for everything. But deep in the forest exists a young man who spends his time training and bulking up. He can't use magic, but he enjoys a peaceful life with his father. But one day, his life is put in danger. Will his muscular body protect him from the magic users who are out to get him? Powerfully trained muscles crush magic as this abnormal magical fantasy begins.
In a world where cream puffs are used for everything.
So
one cream puff lives in the cream puff.
Picture Harry Potter. Genuinely, just picture Harry Potter. Okay, now put in Saitama from One Punch Man. At a very basic level, that is what Mashal is.
Yeah, pretty much.
But like genuine, like it's not just like, oh, it's a magic world. Like very clearly, a lot of the visuals are based on Harry Potter.
Oh, the whole thing. Yeah, there's like sorting houses.
Yeah.
And there's Gryffindors and Slytherins. I mean,
and I don't know that this really covered it properly. When we say this is a world of magic, literally every single person has magic.
Except Mash.
They kill children who don't have the mark that shows that they can do magic.
Just like in Harry Potter.
When's the last time you read Harry Potter?
Just like Harry Potter's author.
We're not going to touch that.
Let's cut that. That's a can of worms. I'm sorry.
So, yeah.
I was watching ContraPoints recently.
There's so many parallels to Harry Potter but it sort of does an excellent job at satirizing it.
It's very silly. Mashal is a very silly series.
It's primarily a comedy, in case you were wondering. It's very obvious.
It starts out as
It
starts out as a straight up spoof of Harry Potter, and then it does the One Punch Man thing a little bit, where it starts off as a spoof, and then it kind of becomes the thing it's parodying, where Mashal just sort of becomes I don't want to say like, it doesn't become just a straight up shonen battler, but it is a shonen battler, but it retains a lot of the elements of humor.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a shonen battler while also being a satire of shonen battlers.
An absurdist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does definitely start to indulge in the big bad and the final fight.
Yeah.
What I found interesting was because it's right now the series is sort of in the end game. At 151 chapters, it feels like they're close to the end. However, I also said that like 70 chapters ago when they sort of started the end game of it. They've really stretched out the end, which isn't necessarily.
End games are getting longer.
It's not bad. All of it makes sense, but when that started, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be over soon," and it's not.
The fights do start taking longer. Early on in the series, it's one chapter a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into like, there's like with every manga, there's a big bad and he's got a thing of minions and
each of them have
there's
their
a
own
higher
powers and each of those escalate. Like it's part of the comedy. It's part of the reason I fell off of it is that it just kept escalating more and more and more. And if you can lean into the humor, it works. But if it's just like when you're reading it at a chapter a week as it's coming out, it gets very just like, come on, move the ball.
There's this thing that it does that the series does that is sort of very much just like a Harry Potter kind of shonen thing that's almost played seriously, but I think they do a pretty good job of where everyone has like their own unique magic. There's magic that everybody can use except Mashal.
Except Mashal can't use any magic. He uses his own magic. He uses muscle magic.
But each individual person sort of has a specialty magic that they can do, and the very powerful people are able to do like second and third forms of it. And I think it's really well done because they put a lot of detail into like the thing that comes out for that magic, whether it's like a summon or some swords or whatever that is.
Yeah. Whatever the visual of it is.
And as I said, that's a very shonen thing that's played fairly straight until MASH comes in and just like punches them.
Yeah, it's this. It helps build the absurdity of it. Here's this serious actual thing, and here's our comedy guy. Reminds me of Bobobo a little bit.
Yeah. It looks good, but there is one big problem I have with the visual design of Mashal, and that is that like the combat is utterly meaningless.
Yeah.
And by that I mean people are just constantly pincushioned.
Right.
By like swords.
Yeah, it does that manga thing where it's like, no, that person would have been dead.
It's particularly
and then they
egregious
keep
in
standing
this
back up.
because people get like cut in half and then they're just not cut in half.
Yeah.
That bothered me a little bit. Like I got some problems with Mashal. I fell off well before Kermit.
I thought you made it further than me.
I have now.
Oh,
so here's
the first time around.
So I'm the only one who actually read it the entire time.
Here's my journey. So I read 20 chapters of Mashal and I was like, it's just not catching my attention. And I fell off. And then my wife got incredibly into Mashal. She loves it. She loves the humor in it. She loves his dork face when he's got the cream puff in his mouth and everything. So she made me go back and read it. And that is why I've caught up on it.
Something to note, the chapters are very short.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's like 7 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
You can see why I got frustrated reading them week to week.
They are coming out weekly. I assume it's coming out in the magazine because why else would it be that short, you know?
Yeah. I think it definitely reads better all at once than it does week to week.
That's interesting you say that because, like I said, I've been reading it every week since it came out, and I sort of like the shortness of it because it's just like a little break you take and see something funny. There's part of me that goes, I wish this was longer each time I read it. But I think that's more me because I read lots of stuff.
Well, I think the thing is, as you get into the longer and longer fights, the problem for me of the visuals of the combat being utterly meaningless, they're going to stab each other repeatedly until it's time for somebody to actually fall down for real.
Yeah.
And I can't really gauge the tension of when that will happen. You can only really gauge it by the expression on their face. As
an O face.
As they start to look more tired, it's like, oh, now you feel tension.
I don't think anyone of consequence has died.
I don't think any. No one of consequence.
Some of the bad guys.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like in Mashal, like everybody comes back. I mean,
well, that's true.
Mashal's strongest point when it hits it is its humor.
Yes.
That was always my thing. Mashal to me at its topmost is a comedy. Now, I don't know if we want to get into that yet. I don't know if the anime knows that.
I want to say, like, if you are reading it purely for the comedy, then I think Ben's way of reading a couple chapters at a time is probably how you want to do it. Because not every single chapter has like a banger joke in it.
That's why I fell off, because the humor, it was a One Punch Man problem. Saitama showing up when the big funny thing happened less and less, and the things that were happening when he wasn't around I'm getting bored. This is the same escalation.
It's exactly the same thing, because the story kind of... This is a recommendation. I do recommend Mashal. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to give the counter argument here of like, there's some problems. And one of those big problems is like, Mashal doesn't know what it wants to be. Mashal kind of wants to have its cream puff and eat it too. It wants to be funny and inconsequential, but then it also wants to have these big battles. But when the big battles don't have any tension or they don't work,
there are no stakes.
It's a comedy.
It wants to create stakes, but it can't, because the whole point is cutting the legs out underneath those things.
Yeah, and so there are other characters that are funny than just Mashal.
Yeah, the main character kid, I forget what his name is, but he's like, he would have been the main character in the other series that was just about magic.
Yeah.
And he's got like the magic mark that's like a cross on his forehead instead of the
normal just line.
Yeah, the lines that everybody else has, and it's like, oh, he's got this super special explosion
Harry
power.
Potter.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then he just gets crapped on constantly.
Well, I do like his relationship with the Gravioli kid.
Gravioli.
The Siscon kid.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could describe him as a Siscon.
No,
he really loves his sister and wants to like save her. I think she's sick or something.
She's losing her magic.
But it's not like he's obsessed, but not in the bad way.
Unlike One Punch Man, they develop other characters that can fill in when it's time for Mash to lie down. Mm-hmm. There's no good reason for Mash not to be there, but it's not time for Mash yet. So
that's the problem when you have the nuclear option all the time from moment one. It's just like, well, why don't we just hit the nuclear option button? Solve the problem.
And they do that a lot at the beginning.
Yeah, like that's some of the humor is this big setup and then Munch's put like it's the One Punch Man thing. It's like he does a cool, funny, weird thing and he solves the problem with a little effort. And you're just like, ha ha ha.
Unlike with One Punch Man,
hate you, Harry Potter.
I did become invested in the stakes of Mashal. Like I care that the Voldemort figure goes down. I want that to happen. And in One Punch Man, I could not care less about the monster society.
Well, One Punch Man doesn't really have a central villain.
It also, I think, helps Mashal that we have Harry Potter in our brains, which it is very clearly cribbing its notes from. So in moments where it's not setting it up, your brain already has like, well, here are the notes that match this situation. You can just use these emotions you feel in your brain, Ben.
I definitely think if Mashal tried to go for a second arc after wrapping up the Voldemort thing,
I don't think it's got it.
That would be pushing it.
I think
it has to wrap up with this.
It would have to jump genres entirely or
because,
settings.
Well, so a very central point of the beginning of the series is that he has to hide that he doesn't have magic.
Yeah,
and then sort of, I say very quickly, but it's like 50, 60 chapters. Everybody finds out that he doesn't have magic.
But he's just so strong it doesn't matter.
And that's a spoiler, but it also doesn't matter.
There's no stakes.
Yeah.
You know it's going that way because everybody he meets finds out within 5 minutes of meeting him that he doesn't have magic.
It's the bit. It's the, you got to keep this hidden. You're the special boy that lived. And it's like, oh, no, it's not important.
But you can only, like with One Punch Man, you can only subvert expectations so many times before that becomes the expectation.
Right.
Yep.
And
it works. Maybe, I feel like from our discussion, maybe the anime not knowing what it is more clear to the source, like,
well, let's jump over there real quick.
than we were thinking it was.
So, as of this recording, we have seen 2 episodes of the anime, which is not a lot, but I think there's only 3 or 4 out right now.
That sounds right.
The anime, we were very wary of when we saw the first trailer, because from our interpretation of it, the trailer didn't get it.
No.
I didn't dislike the trailer as much as you guys did.
No, it's not that the trailer wasn't bad. It just was like, I don't think the bill of goods it's selling is what Mashal is.
There's a joke in Mashal where he is completely in love with eating cream puffs, and it sort of like inserts that at inopportune times as the punchline. And the trailer just completely was like, hey, cream puffs all the time. It's like, and it was like, why? You need to put that in its specific
joke.
Right.
That's a joke for people who already know what Mashal is, not for the people you're trying to sell.
And it's not the like absurdist humor that I like out of it. It's just like, oh, hey, this.
So we watched the first episode, and while I wouldn't say it's bad, we were a little concerned.
It felt like it didn't get it.
It did most of what it needed to do correctly, and it was animated well, but it sort of didn't start in on the satire bits that we expected.
I mean, every anime sucks when it starts. I feel like setting up.
I have to disagree with that, but I get your point.
The tone feels like not what Mashal is, but not like the trailer. Like a little part of me thought with the trailer was like, oh, it's a bait and switch for people. It's like you lead people with Harry Potter, and then you get there, and it's like this absurdist comedy. Yeah. But that's not what episode 1 really feels like.
But there was a large part of the fact that it didn't quite feel like the right tone that was down to the music.
The background music has some really weird choices.
The background music has some stuff where it's like, that doesn't fit here. Why are you doing that? But also, and this might just be me, but the intro, the music for that just doesn't feel right to me.
The outro's good.
The outro's fine.
Impeccable.
Yeah. Ordinarily, I'd say intros, outros, who cares? This is not part of the show. Now, a good intro is very memorable.
We have definitely been spoiled with Spy Family and Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. I think they're important as tone setters. Yeah, even if like I don't particularly like what's going on, I feel like they can give you the emotion you need going into it.
There are just as many anime intros that I loathe as I love. But in the case of Mashal, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I never would have thought it would be this important to me, but the choice of music in the background of the episodes is so cringy and distracting. I'm going to be harder on this than probably anyone else. Like, I don't like Japanese rap. It just sounds weird to me. It's probably like a cultural thing. I'm used to rap in America. When I see somebody rap in Japan, it's very obvious that they're just imitating.
I can't say
something else.
I've ever heard any Japanese rap that I was like, oh, that's real good.
Yeah. I mean, some is better than others, but like
the best is when they use it as an accessory in a song.
Yeah.
Like a short interstitial of
Here's the
rap,
part where the rapper comes in.
and then move on. Yeah. Like Lost in Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I like that. But
Jujutsu Kaisen.
This stuff that's playing in the background, I got two main problems with it. One, it's got lyrics. It's nothing but lyrics. It's rap. And it's playing over scenes where people are talking. And the second is the tone is completely wrong.
Mashal is not hip hop.
It's swaggering.
Yeah. Yes.
Most of the time. So I do want to say the second episode really turned it around.
The second episode is better, but it still suffers from that same problem. Like the background music is like, this is not the scene. This is not the show to use this, and even more so, this is not the scene to use it.
As far as most of like the scenes and things, the second episode hits more.
A lot funnier. A lot gets it a lot more.
The music is still a problem, but I will say there is one instance because the rap one is like Mashal's theme. So we're going to get this again and again.
So bad.
Whoever scored Mashal thinks Mashal is a swaggering badass.
Yes.
He's not.
But there's one scene in the second episode where his intro or where his music kicks in and it does fit.
Which one was that? I don't remember.
I forget exactly the scene.
Brad, this doesn't help.
But one time it works.
There was time when funny music kicked in and it was funny.
I would never play a rap song as a character's theme music ever.
I think I can agree with that.
I disagree with that. For Mashal, I agree. For anything, no. I
would never play a song with lyrics as a character's theme.
Yeah, I think that's more my thing.
In anything, like you could play the beat for Mashal's music if for Mashal's theme.
Or like have the song, have it be a full song.
Have it be lyrics in between scenes before people are talking.
Yeah.
Because I will always think of, I think I made a joke of it earlier from Gurren Lagann of fight the impossible, do the invisible, row, fight. Like I get hyped up just thinking about that. Like I think there's a place for it. Maybe that's just,
and I think
like the sound of that more.
The scene in the second episode where it worked was like that, where it was like, there was some action.
It's like, let's get some energy. It's not like, but yeah, like it's usually like that. The way it sounds is like, oh, we're doing well, we're swaggering, we're feeling ourselves, and it's like that is not Mashal's character.
Yeah,
I don't.
He's a dweeb.
I don't like it for Mashal. You should never play a song with lyrics in the background of people talking.
Yeah, also that like it's really weird.
You should. I think it doesn't fit Mashal, or it doesn't fit Mash. I keep calling him Mashal, like I'm calling the.
I don't think it fits the series either.
Yeah,
rap doesn't make sense in Harry Potter.
Yeah, I don't. The vibe Mashal goes for in the manga is very young, very Gen Z. There's a lot of slang. There's a lot of particularly like Gen Z slang, like we call it cringe. It's kimo, and it's like, I don't know, TikTok slang. I can never think of it when I'm on the spot.
Yeah.
But I see it all the time in Mashal, where like the kids talk like kids, and they talk like modern kids.
They're making TikToks.
And so I could get why, if that's what's popular in Japan right now, if that's what the kids are listening to, cool. It's not what the kids are listening to in America. That rap song that was playing is like so 2000s.
Yeah.
It's painful. I just can't say enough how much I hate it.
Yeah, but you're going back to this. Usually, that's usually my or Brad thing where it's I'm not done talking crap on it.
I think we should pull this back because it is important to note that the second episode
turned me around. I was very dicey about the second one, and the second one's like, I want to watch the next one.
Right. We're going to continue to watch it.
More.
We're going to continue to watch it because of the fact that the second episode got most of it right.
There's something here.
The only caveat of the music.
I guess I should say, it's to understand like my perspective on it, it does not take much for me to not watch an anime.
Yeah.
I'm more of a manga person. I've always been. So if the anime is not adding a ton, I don't care.
Like now, I would say read the manga over watch the anime.
Yeah.
Admittedly, we've only seen 2 episodes, so obviously we'll check in later about it. But this is one case. This feels like the reason we were worried about Chainsaw Man, where the tone was so important.
Yeah.
After reading it, and the anime got it, and here's an example of a thing we've been reading for a long time. And so far, it feels like the anime didn't get it.
I think Chainsaw Man even has rap in it at points, and I liked it. It totally
feels like because it tonally fits. And but some of the thing that I worried about with MASH is that like, did they get the tone wrong, or did we have a different tone reading on what it was?
Just to be clear, I don't mind rap. I'm not. This isn't a criticism of rap.
I think
and not just music, but like the tone, like because there's you can read something as a satire that isn't, or vice versa. There's people that read satires as legitimate sea Starship Troopers.
Like I don't think the anime totally misses the mark. Like
no,
I think
it's close-ish.
You could watch the anime and be totally fine. Yep. If you don't want to read manga, if you're the opposite of me.
No, and that's the caveat. Like a lot of these recommendations where we go, if you won't read the manga, watch the anime.
Yeah.
It is good enough to do that.
So far. We'll report back at the end of the season.
But the manga is almost always the better option.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, we've also been spoiled too by just a lot of like...
Yeah, Chainsaw Man and Spy Family, where they just like got it, and then they were firing on all cylinders. It's like, this is perfection. You understood the source material and stepped it up.
Yeah.
And Mashal feels like I don't know if you read the book. I don't know if you're giving this is like a B- on the test.
Especially seeing all of the isekai shovelware.
Yeah.
The what Chainsaw Man and Spy Family did, where they elevated the story, is so rare.
I mean, but even like Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, like there have been so many anime coming out that are like at least as good as the manga or better.
You say so many.
Jujutsu Kaisen is funny in the anime, where it is like the manga has a sense of humor, but you do not get a vibe of that as much as you do in the anime. It's weird.
I don't think it's...
I mean, there's obviously more than not. I don't watch
because the majority are
We're watching
not.
The good stuff that we want to watch.
There's been a couple in the past couple years that have done a really great job, and that might be like a departure from
I guess I should say
20 years previously.
Maybe they're just getting better at it.
What I'm used to from Shonen Jump.
There we go.
Adapted. I would have thought that like it's just not tight. Like with Spy Family and Chainsaw Man, you can tell they didn't cut a single corner.
There's no wasted time.
With
every slow part is deliberate and has a reason.
Yeah, but also its budgets didn't get cut. That's what Ben's saying.
With Mashal, here's what now this is me reading too much into it because podcaster, I had an audio. But like with Mashal, what you should have had was 2 tracks for that song, one without lyrics.
Ben, you are still on this lyrics
but it's just the corner.
You're not wrong.
It's just the corner that was cut because
it's a bad choice.
You should drop the lyrics. You should let them talk. You bring back the lyrics when they're fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. It's just it was like faster, cheaper.
It seems like
But why would you pay a singer for this? Why this song? Like that's my.
Well, they did the song.
They did it poorly. It's just they did a bad
It feels like
bad choice.
The director of this series understood it, but
Also
either
didn't.
had not enough budget or cut corners or stopped paying attention or something.
I don't feel that. I feel that this is not. Again, we're 2 episodes in. This is way too
That's
early to
true,
make this judgment call. I get the vibe of somebody didn't get the source material.
Maybe.
Faraway Paladin is you guys didn't have the budget, and this is kind of it out.
Yeah.
Mashal, I feel like, has a budget and just isn't getting it in the way that I was thinking it was going to.
Did we gush about the manga enough to have people go read that? Because, like, legitimately recommending the manga.
Give it a shot. We are saying give it a shot. Will you love it? I don't know. I think for the first while it's good, and if you keep liking it, keep reading, and if you don't, you can jump off. But I believe Mashal is worth giving a shot.
Yeah, you could read 20 chapters in an hour.
You'll know.
So
yeah, it breezes on.
I'll tell you where I'm at with Mashal in general. Manga and anime. There is an opportunity to either completely blow it or completely seal the deal.
That's true, because it's not over.
Yeah. If the manga just drags and drags and drags forever,
yeah,
it could be a non-recommend for me. Right now, it's a recommend. I do enjoy reading it.
There have been chapters where I'm like, oh, this is dragging. And then they do a joke, and it's like, oh, okay.
Mashal walks a fine line. Yeah. And the anime just started on that line where the manga, I guess, didn't get there for me right away.
Yeah.
But, I say that, but I dropped the manga too. So maybe that's an interesting experience. I'm ready to drop the anime after 2 episodes, just like I was ready to drop the manga after 20 chapters.
We'll see.
But
I want to give it. I don't know if we'll do the whole season, but I want to give it a couple more.
It deserves
I want to see
more.
one of the big fights.
It definitely deserves more,
because that feels like somewhere where the anime could really help, but where the manga didn't have that, and I don't know how they'll handle it, and that's what I want to see.
There's a level of like disappointment. Like for me, reading the manga, really enjoying it, and going, oh, it's going to get an anime. Watching that first episode and being like, oh.
So
really?
let me give you the flip side. Some things I liked.
Say some kind things.
Voice acting is solid.
Yep.
Every voice actor fits. Mm-hmm. His uncle, the guy who plays him, is hilarious. I love that dialogue. I love the timing on it.
Wait, his dad?
His dad, not his uncle.
His adoptive father. But
OG-san.
G-san.
Who's actually old enough to be his grandfather.
Yeah. But I liked all of that. I think the visual design's good. The way the magic looks, everybody said it's perfect.
Oh, there is one thing to note about the magic. As I said in the manga, where they do like their tiered magic thing, they do like a summoning or whatever. The manga puts hyper detail into those illustrations, and I was a little bit disappointed in the anime. It's not that they
From the one we've seen.
Yes, we've
From
only
the
seen one.
Singular.
It seemed like it was just done normally. And that's not a bad thing, but I really like the hyper detail that they put in the manga.
Read the My Hero manga and it'll be 10 times worse. I promise. No, but I also like whenever they did a comedy gag, it visually and sound design worked.
Yes.
When Mashal's can't open the door. And he's trying to put the door back on, and it's just
yeah. Those have been funny.
He's lifting
those
weights.
have been elevated.
Those all work great. I think it had just been a while since me personally had watched an anime where I was like, "Oh, that doesn't work at all. How did that get through editing?" And
see, that's what I mean, because I feel like we've gotten the eye of like, okay, you guys didn't have budget. We're cutting corners. We're trying to make it work. Where it's just generally like you guys made it like you were doing good. Like you just. To add a bad pick.
I also don't
happen as much, I feel like, at least that we see. I
don't know how much our listeners are like really into anime or really into manga. I mean, I don't know because they don't talk to us, but the thing for me is like I read so much manga that when I'm reading one that's not that great, it doesn't really affect me that much because I'm just like, well, I enjoy the story enough, so even though it's not that good, I'm just going to keep checking it out. With anime, it's much more of a commitment to watch, 22 minutes of an anime.
You can't float over anime the way you can float on man. Like, I'm not interested in what's going on here. Skip some panel. Like, you can fast forward, but That's not as finely grained as like, I'm going to skip these. Okay, we'll pick up back here.
So the anime that we
Meaningfully.
watch, we always watch very deliberately.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that, I think, makes, like, we have much higher expectations because the things we watch are so good.
That too. Yeah.
I wish I was good enough at Japanese to just have it on in the background. Because that's like, if I was watching dubbed anime, I'd just be playing a video game and it'd be on the TV and I'd be fine.
Yep.
But for me, the way I have to process it auditorily is like, they say it, I have to like record the sentence in my brain and then try to translate it.
Yeah.
And then the next sentence has already been stated.
And so even if I could listen, even if I can comprehend what they're saying as they're talking,
You watch it on a quarter speed.
it is not comfortable. I could not do anything else in my head.
Watashi wa.
It's when they get into the grammar and the slang. When they don't say, I need Keiko. That's what I study. That's what I need. And the anime people don't give me that.
So, to summarize, the manga is definitely a recommendation. You do need to give it some time, as you guys has found, but it's a really good series, and it's been going on. They didn't cancel it, so it's doing something right.
It's surviving. It got an anime.
And then
Sakamoto Days hasn't done that yet.
yeah, make a Sakamoto Days anime. Oh my god!
But also get it right.
And then, as you know, what we say a lot of times with these, and I stated before, if you will not read the manga, you can check out the anime.
Check it out.
It's probably worth it.
This isn't a go read it. This is a go check it out.
Yeah.
For me, at least. I think it's worth checking out.
I agree. Even the anime. I agree.
So far, yep.
Well, thanks for listening to That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an anime podcaster. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoy recording. To find all of our social media links, such as Twitter, Patreon, Facebook, and more, visit our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. You can also find articles on various topics, as well as new manga reviews. I hear there's going to be a new manga review for Kill Blue.
There's going to be like 3.
We've got a lot. We've been slacking.
We'd love to hear from you on any of those social platforms, or you can leave a comment on the site. You can even just send us an email to Isekai Sensei-Sama at gmail.com. We're always looking for feedback on what you'd all like to see, or better ways to interact with you. If you prefer to listen to our podcast in high quality stereo, be sure to check out our YouTube channel, where we simul-release all of the episodes.
You can listen to it. It's a POV recording because you are Brad in that recording.
When I say stereo, I mean stereo.
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 And then Ben, you say it.
Stereo.
I'm in the right channel?
Yes.
Cool.
Left channel, best channel.
And before we go, I just want to remind you to check out Sugoi Mart, where you can get 15% off your first order by using the link in the description or by using code APR15 at checkout.
Sugoi da.
Anime podcaster reincarnation 15.
And if you'd like to hear Ben talk about some isekais, you should check out Words About Books. The last episode that they did on Thrawn, it's an isekai.
What?
Yeah, we decided there's like an academy kind of isekai.
So first of all, he gets picked up from a planet and gets taken to another planet. So there's that. He's another world.
No, we can't start. Star Wars is always on another world.
Then
Try.
he goes to an academy where he just so happens to be way better than everyone else, which is an isekai trope.
I think this is at the far end of our isekai matrix.
Then he is reluctantly okay with slavery.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm on board. I was
gonna say Brad has been in the Words About Books Discord selling this.
You've summoned John Brown.
There's like 3 people now telling me Thrawn is an isekai. So
get your isekai stink on everything.
No, but those are good episodes, and a recommendation for that book.
yes, yeah,
And probably the entire new Thrawn trilogy, right?
yeah.
There's a new Thrawn trilogy?
The whole new Thrawn trilogy.
Is Thrawn new canon now?
Yeah, he got rebooted.
Okay.
And it's one of the rare cases where the reboot fixed everything and did it better.
That's the joy of it. You take everybody loved it, and then they just do it again, but they make it all better.
So that most recent episode, 2 episodes, was the first book. Ben accidentally did the second book first, so that episode is a couple months ago.
You can read them out of order. You know.
Okay. Let's check it out.
In the second book, Thrawn and Darth Vader fight crime, and that is obviously where we start.
Pretty rad.
Well, once again, thanks for listening. And I hope we can all live lives worth reviewing.
I for the first time in a long time, Shonen Jump's putting out series that I think might last more than 30 chapters.
Yeah, there's been a couple.
I like Beat in Motion. I like, there's a Kill Blue.
Kill Blue. Have you read, I don't remember the name, it's like Takuraki Cinema or something, where there's the ghost?
Yeah.
That one I'm curious about.
I like that one. I don't think it's as good as the other two, but I think it's still setting up.
It's got more. Yeah. It's got more leg potential. Maybe we should actually introduce this properly as a segment, because clearly we have some thoughts about it to shout them out. Because I don't think we've shouted out. Have we talked about Beat in Motion at all?
I don't know. We could wait till later to really get into it. Maybe a next episode.
Let's save it for next episode because a lot of them are still in this I don't know yet.
I was just gonna say I'm just putting a bug out there. If
also I want to make a proper list so I can say all their names correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I'll just sort of slide that in at the end of the news segment, but we can start.
They need to gestate a little bit more.
I was just saying, watch Shonen Jump because they got some good new ones, and then I can tell you more about them next episode.
Check it out next time on the next episode. I lost it. I've already lost the raspy bass.
On the next episode. Of That Time, I was a podcaster in Not the Animes.
I thought you were just going to say the podcast title.
I was going to, and I was like...
Next time on Dragon Ball Podcaster.
Dragon. Whoa, the Dragon Ball.
Z.
Except we need you for these ones, too, because I'm about to shame you.
Okay. Here's an ending. Here's an after the credits segment between Kermit and Brad. I don't have a bit. Too tired.
Let's sing more Dragon Ball. I don't know the other Dragon Ball songs. Oh, wait. I know how to solve this problem. Alexa, play Kickback. I've actually been listening to some Bob Dylan stuff recently. Maybe you've heard of the Traveling Wilburys. I have no idea why.
Brad, how is this important?
Well, it's not. You said Bob Dylan, and I was like, Bob Dylan is in the supergroup, the Traveling Wilburys.
Did you tell me that last week? Because I feel like this information.
Yes, I think
okay,
I
that's
did,
why.
yeah.
You told me.
For our Gen Z listeners, Bob Dylan was a sort of Taylor Swift singer-songwriter of his day.
No,
Bob Dylan was a what's that shitpost artist on Twitter that everybody loves that Elon's fighting with?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about, Ben. You almost assuredly...
It's like Dill or something?
Yeah, I think it's just Dill.
Yeah.
And he's the one that made the, I'm not owned, you didn't own me as I slowly turn into a corn cob. He's got some, classic tweets you've 100% seen screenshotted somewhere.
Just to say, the weird thing about the Traveling Wilburys is, Bob Dylan doesn't fit in that group.
What do you mean he doesn't fit?
No, it's so weird. He's so different from the rest of them.
Oh, okay.
Because
the rest of them can sing.
It's George Harrison. Tom Petty.
Guitarman.
Joe
Walsh? John Walsh?
Oh, I forget. He's the one I can never remember.
The one nobody can remember.
And now I've lost all of them, so.
Now we have revealed our age to the audience.
The Traveling Wilburys.
Okay, I'll put it this way. I'm not quite old enough to have listened to a young Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, no. All those guys were old when they were doing that.
You're old enough to have listened to an old Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
I'm old enough for my dad to have been into Bob Dylan.
There you go.
I already have that audio.
It's really good audio.
You never listen to the podcast, do you?
No.
I put it in. It's every time I use it.
I like hearing my voice too much. I'm too much of a little parrot with a mirror. Too freaking narcissistic.
I'm the opposite. I don't mind listening to my voice, but I always find myself thinking oh man, I should have said this, and then I say it.
I love those moments where I'm like, oh, I would respond with this, and then past me responds with that. I'm like, yeah, that.
I'm like, wow, how much of my life is just like, I'm just an algorithm in this box.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just always programmed to say those things.
Guess what?
What?
It's time for the super secret recommendation.
What?
Oh my God. What?
I've got one more thing to recommend.
Can I anti-recommend something?
Maybe.
I'm anti-recommending baseball is another one of those because it gave me a no joke, no hyperbole, big frustration on my end, a tentacle rape dungeon as a gag.
They
it
didn't
pissed me off.
They didn't
so
get
bad.
raped. They just got fondled. It was sexual harassment.
No.
Well, that's a hair.
When the
a hair
English
with-
translation has to censor it and go, pay us on Patreon, you can see what's underneath. It's a tentacle rape dungeon. They were touched unwillingly, and it's played as comedy,
That's true.
and they're all miserable, and I hate. If hate was inscribed on every nano-angstrom of my circuitry, which runs for miles and miles and miles, it would not contain one iota of the hate I feel for another world where baseball is world for disappointing me
Well, I think you'll
with
like.
such filth.
I think you'll like this series.
Okay, thank you.
It's called A Yandere Girl, who is not very good at being yandere. This is
This is the post credits.
yeah. No, it's super secret recommendation.
This
at
is like
the
when you
end.
leave the tape playing for a while and there's silence and there's finally the secret track.
Yeah.
Secret song.
This is it just started coming out. There's only like 6 chapters. They're like 2 pages each. Okay?
Oh, it's like a newspaper comic.
Each one is a trope of yandere.
Okay, this sounds funny.
So like the one is she's making a treat for her boyfriend and she's like, oh, I put something secret in it, because a trope of yandere is like
Which one
they'll
is-
like cut something off of themselves and put it in there.
What the fuck? What is
and
yandere?
Yandere,
You don't know
isn't
what
that the one-
yandere is?
Isn't that the one where it's like you have to date only me?
Okay, so
yeah,
I
they're like
I know there's
killers.
yeah.
yandere and tsundere.
Tsundere is the one everybody knows because that's like the I don't actually like you.
Babaka.
Yeah.
Tsundere, tsundere is the cactus is the tsundere of the plant world.
I know there was a yandere killer in Japan.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the thing. So yandere is like they love you to a psychotic degree. Like
Okay.
they will murder you
Or other people.
so someone else can't have you.
Yeah.
Kind of
Or they
thing.
will also murder other people so they can't get you.
Or themselves.
Also that. A lot of murder. Not
So
good.
she's
Not great.
yandere, but she keeps like slipping. But
she's bad at it.
Right. So she acts yandere, but then like she's terrible at it. There's a knife scene. She's like, if I can't have you, no one can. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, it's a rubber knife.
These sound like
the thing where
newspaper comics.
yeah, well the thing where she
It's just
is
a little
gonna,
setup and it's a setup and a payoff. It's
yeah,
a punchline.
no, it's hilarious.
It sounds cute.
That definitely sounds like what The Simpsons thinks a Japanese newspaper comic would look like.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Twitter. Somebody on Twitter would make something like this.
It's the kind of like
Casey Green energy.
She does something that would be like scary, like, oh, I love you and I'm gonna have you, and but then she's embarrassed by it. So
Which is the appropriate response.
Yeah.
it's funny and cute and very, very short. Check it out.
You're the secret song on the album. Secret song.